John goes to this
Is there ever a good time for that?
Dr. Montgomery. I think both dogs set up on she's over on Appleby. It's a double license. It's right across from the ER.
Yeah.
She's an internist and she keeps track of his blood pressure and everything. That's probably what you need is to have a doctor monitor you. May 14th at 6:30 p.m.
We should have it. Okay, the time is 6:30, so we'll go ahead and get started. So before we do the roll call for everybody that's here, if you didn't see, all of our city equipment is out there, so you guys can take a look at it, see what we've bought over the last year and a half. So, if you have any questions, let us know. So, all right, go ahead with roll call.
Paula Anderson.
Usually we do the roll call first, and then I'll have to.
Paula Anderson. Here. Colton Martin.
Here.
John Mayfield.
Here.
Max Floyd.
Here.
John Valancourt.
Here.
Rich Wright.
Present.
All right, this time we'll do the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So has everybody had a chance to look at the agenda? I do need to make a couple of changes. Under Highlands Gravel Classic, that's not going to be reported by Chief Travis. He's actually out. And it's going to be reported by Bruce with All Sports.
Well, Chief Travis' name is under his police report. It's not under the Highland. On mine.
Oh, I guess there's not a name there. Okay.
No.
And I think Jesse's going to deliver the police report as well. So if there's anything to report. And then Bruce with All Sports will be for item A, Highlands Gravel Classic. And then also under old business, under business licenses, that's going to be Lacey, not myself. Any other corrections from the council?
Could we move up items K, C, and E? To be at the top of just below 7 would work.
I'm sorry, what are you asking?
Move up items K, C, and E.
To,
Let's put it under 6. No, under 7. Arbor Board report. Just under Arbor Board report is perfect.
but it's old business, so I think we should keep it under old business.
Well, there's people here that I got a request to move that one up. I'd like it moved up just below H.
So we could move it up into item A under old business and move everything down. If you want to move K to the top of the list, you want to move K. What other one?
We're gonna go H, K, C, E.
H, K, C, E. So we'll just take those out of order and put those above A. All right, council.
Motion to approve the amended agenda.
I'll second it as amended. So we have a motion and a second. Any public comment before we vote? All right. All those in favor? All right. Motion passes. Agenda is approved. So we'll go on to the time for public input at this time. Is there anybody that wants to come forward and have public input? Seeing none, we'll move on to approval of the minutes. So the April 9th minutes, does everybody get a chance to read those and look at it?
I had one addendum there, under old city business, A, the fourth line, put up there. It said anchor instead of acre. Ah, okay.
Goshen.
It's the correct spelling for anchor, but I'm not sure that that's what we meant in the,
What page are you on?
I don't know, it's the old business A, and then the fourth line there.
Page 3 of 9.
Or the adoption of ICC code.
It's not
Yeah, it is.
okay.
Anchor. Fourth sentence.
I have 5 anchor
Yeah,
instead of acre.
yeah.
So that'll be corrected, and then we can approve it after that, or is there
Now
no?
we can approve it with that correction.
That's what I was
And-
saying, yes. So is there any other corrections?
I'll make a motion to approve with the correction that Paula mentioned on acres. For that to be changed.
Second.
All right, so a motion and a second, public input before we vote. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. So we'll move on to the financial report. Go ahead and break that off for you guys. So as of April 30th, 2023, the general fund was $608,705.97. The strip fund was $275,992.05. And the police act 988 was $3,315.81. And at this time, we actually have just over $1 million in savings. To approve the financial,
So moved.
Second.
we have a motion and a second, and public comment before we vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Financial report is passed. At this time, if we have Bruce, if you want to come to the podium, I think there's a mic there, but
If not, I can speak loud.
all right.
Thank you so much. But if you'd like to, I'll.
You have to hold down on that round button for just a minute till it turns green.
Check.
There you go.
Thank you. My name is Bruce Dunn, and I'm with All Sports Productions, and we were responsible for a lot of two-wheel cyclists on April of last month. And I just want to give a report about the event, and then certainly, Mayor, maybe that would be dangerous for me to take any comments, but if not, I appreciate that. But I just want to give you some high-level numbers just to let you know. This is the third year. The first 2 years, if you didn't know about it, were held out of Princy Farms, which is now Florence Farms. The start and finish was there. So this year, the highlight where we had 39 states represented, 8 foreign countries, 364 riders. And interesting enough, 97 riders were from Arkansas, but there were 47 from Texas, 23 from Colorado, 18 from California, 18 from Florida, and 9 from New York. So, you know, interesting enough, relatively speaking, we had a lot more people from out of state. And just to say that we was successful would be an understatement. And I think we talked about, we hope that we would be a positive impact on the community and that people would enjoy something that was not Fayetteville or Little Rock or another city center event, but community oriented. We asked that the community try to feed the participants, and that would have such a big impact. And I just can't say enough to Mayor Stroud and all the leadership and just everyone on staff and the community as a whole being accepting of this event, because we do a survey, 33% responded, 140 people, which is pretty amazing out of 360. And to a T, everyone said they really appreciated the genuineness and the personal nature that this community gave to people from all over the world. So just, you know, a big clap. I think you should give yourself a hand if you want to. it was that positive. And so, thank you so much. And if there's anything that we'd like to discuss, I'm happy to answer, a couple of questions. Yes, sir.
You said there was 364 riders, I think you said.
Yes, sir.
And does that count the ones that were no-shows or those actual riders?
The actual riders was 328, I think. So 364 registered.
Because of the weather, I'm sure that some of them.
Well, it's kind of interesting. It really wasn't adding more travel plans and things. Weather didn't have an effect on them, actually. It's interesting enough. So I think we would have had more locals actually registered the last minute, John, than actually not show up, interesting enough. So to your point, it probably was a little bit local, but when people attending, they were here.
Now, my grandson came up from Dallas. He's from Bentonville, but he came up from Dallas because that's where he's working now. He said it was hotter than what he anticipated.
But cooler than last year.
But this is the first one he's ever done. So, and had a flat tire.
Oh, really? Any other questions I might can answer? Just notes about that. Well, again, thank you so much. We are already in the planning stages. We are tentatively planned for the exact same week in April of 2025, if you'll have us back. We did talk about the following week, potentially the first weekend in May, but it seems that the calendar is shaping up to be the last weekend in April. I would be very surprised if we're not well over 500 riders next year, possibly more. So, again, thank you so much for extending a warm welcome to everyone and making these riders from literally across the world feel welcome. So, it was an absolute pleasure.
Hey, Bruce, any big lessons learned? I mean, not in the weeds, but any macro lessons learned?
I think the time of year, certainly not having in late June. I said this to another community thinking about another event. You have to have a unique appeal to these riders that the entry fee is not the expense. It's the plane flights. It's the toting their bags. It's bringing their family and friends. It's the preparation. It's all the equipment they have to purchase sometimes to come to these events. They want to experience. And we always ask about that. What was the post-event like? And I just believe, and that was the X factor, Mayor, I told you, that it was going to be the reason that people would come back. And so on really macro and micro level, Birch, is that your community showed up and people saw that. Because they race and ride all over the world. Literally, these people chase these kind of events. They have resources. They can kind of do what they want to do, and they're going to pick and choose. And they're going to pick experiences. It's not, they don't have to be in the middle of Chicago or New York or whatever. They can do that all day long. They want to come back to the community cares. And so, down in the weeks, that was it. And from just the execution of, I said, Mayor, I need this ditch cut over here. He said, I'll get the bulldozer now. So he was. I really appreciate everyone's patience with being word, right? Because we have impact, and you knocked it out of the park.
Well, you guys did a great job. I was impressed by the smooth operation that you guys had. I didn't anticipate it to be that smooth. It really was. So I thought it went really well.
Well, we better get it right. This is our 22nd year of doing this. This is what we do. So thank you so much for that feedback. And I know you have a busy agenda, so thank you.
Thank you. All right. So we'll go ahead and move on to the police report. I know Chief Travis has been out. So Jesse, do you have anything to report? Okay.
Jesse doesn't have access to the numbers. So
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, and Chief Travis should be back next month. He's been out on a medical leave. So next week. Street report. Back up. So this is a street report prepared by David and Ivan. Continued mowing on the park, continued trash pickup at the park, to do brush hogging in the park and the areas that can't be mowed. Spraying invasive weeds. The bike race, which I was showing you some pictures they took from the bike race. We had great volunteerism from our staff at City Hall, as well as the Parks Commission, citizens. Betty and her husband David came and spent the entire day in the kitchen with us. It was amazing. So all in general, there was a lot of support. They've also been doing bushes and branches from the to expand the entrance into the community building park area there. There was some bushes and branches that need to be removed to be able to see better getting in and out of that road. And then on roads, they've been replacing some speed limit signs on Tuttle, pothole repair, fallen branches from many storms, and then hauled in gravel for the culverts at Blue Springs, and then put in 3 drop-off signs where the road drops off abruptly so people know not to drive off that edge, and then sprayed around bridges on Oxford and Blue Springs. They did go over and build a berm along Spring Park Lane to help divert water flow. And then on maintenance, they've been patching the roof at City Hall. We did put in a drainage ditch behind City Hall where the septic lines are, a curtain, and the drainage ditch that goes out to the ditch. And then they spread grass seed, and if you guys have looked, it came up really well and looks great, given it's only been 3 or 4 weeks that it has, yeah. So continued septic work at City Hall, and then dug a ditch to allow the bike wash station. So to divert water from the bike wash station and not put it into the septic, we dug a French drain and put in filter rock over here in the garden, and all of that water goes over there, and it basically feeds the trees and the dirt that's over there in that garden area. So, and then we are going to be working on replacing all of the city signs. We've got the new signs in. We just have to get the posts. And then, outside as well. I don't know if you guys saw the picnic tables, the rock.
Yeah. I have a comment on that. As a clumsy person and as a parent of clumsy children who, whenever you tell them food is ready, they come running, and regardless of what's in May, the rocks around the edge look lovely, but they are a definite tripping hazard. And they're also an impediment to anybody that has a walking disability. So, they're lovely looking, but I could see that causing somebody an accident, just from personal experience. But, so that might be something to consider, making that a little smoother transition and kind of remove that barrier.
Part of just so for reference for everybody to understand why that's there. So that is where our septic tank is. And prior to that, people were parking over the septic tank, and we'd put some posts out there to keep people from parking on it. We were trying to devise a way to put something there that's not ADA compliant, because we know that ADA, that's not going to be able to be managed there. But somewhere where people could kind of go and have an area to sit, and that would keep people from parking on that area.
I wasn't talking about the big rocks. I'm talking about the little edge rocks.
Yep.
The smaller ones there. But
I agree 100% with you, Paula.
that's, I know that it's never going to be ADA compliant, but if we can at least lower the barrier, or, just, again, keep people from tripping over something that may not have to be there, that's my point to that.
Okay. We can look at seeing how we can make that safer for people.
I just know how many kids I've seen trip over a rock like that edge, and they go flying, and they'll be in the emergency room getting stitches for crashing into the picnic bench.
Gotcha.
We'll take care of it.
And then, so also future projects that we're looking at, there are, I thought there were only 3, but we have identified 5 culverts on our tower that are completely rusted out that need to be replaced. We haven't gotten to all the other streets. I know there's one on Wyman that's going to need to be replaced as well. And we had a gentleman that replaced one on Fire Tower last year that came out today and giving us bids on that. So that's one of the future projects we're looking at. And then also in the future projects, there's in one area at, behind the fire station, we still need to dig a drainage ditch to be able to divert some of the water. And I'll show you guys some pictures of that. And then we're about to start, which you can see the bathroom project's underway. So they've already started on that. And hopefully we'll get that done within the next couple of months, have that all finished. And there's some pictures here of the bike race. This was kind of the area where people parked in the field. And this was some of the riders. This was us in the kitchen cooking that day. Mike and Cheryl Nemo were here, as well as Betty and her husband David. we all cooked all day. Mary came to help. Kyle and his partner were here as well. I think you guys brought breakfast for everybody, right? And so lots of volunteer hours. This was the area where the culvert was repaired off Blue Springs, and they put in the signs to show where the culvert drops off. And this is the area there with the picnic tables. And we can look and see what we can do about those rocks too. So,
What's the story on the drain down here at Tuttle and 45?
so that has been an ongoing problem for us, and I have been on the phone with the contractor and the engineer, and we are attempting to set up a meeting. Brian and I have discussed this at length, and we are going to meet with both of them. I talked to the contractor today. They came out today, and I talked to them last week as well. They assure me that they're going to be able to get that done within the next week to 2 weeks, and I'm supposed to be there to meet with them to isolate where they're going to put the poles. And so, and I'm talking with Scott's Petroleum as well about that. But they were going to finish it today as far as the backfill, but the area there where there's so much dirt, they were concerned that they pushed that dirt up against that box culvert that's there, that it was going to be a problem with washing. And so they're bringing in B-stone. And so that's why that didn't get done today. But I was on the phone with
So
them
it's
today.
just a matter of filling it back
Yep.
in.
So Dustin Curtis and I spoke today, and I spoke to his, I guess his brother, who's the owner of the Curtis Construction, on Friday. So, yeah, that will be done. I delayed talking to Curtis directly because we are paying an engineer to, oversee that project, and I tried to let that work its way out, but it wasn't getting done. So we're going to get it finished.
Mayor, any update on the water leak on the road on Oxford Bend?
So it's not a leak. So it's actually,
Spring.
yeah, so it's really, and it's not even really a spring. What happens is the water comes off that hill. I've looked at it. It's going to take an excavator, which I'm the only one that's got an excavator, and I haven't had time to get over there. But the plan is that we will go over. We're going to have to remove some mud that's in that ditch. And we're going to have to end up digging it down a little bit. We've already had it marked with 811, so we know where the lines are. But it's just a matter of getting the dirt out of there so it can drain appropriately. That's the problem. So. But yeah, it was not a water leak. Although Fayetteville did find a water leak over on J Street after I showed Corey Granderson how much water was running out of that pipe behind the fire station. So they had tested the water previously, and it didn't test positive for fluoride. And so they assumed it was really just groundwater. And there's still a lot of groundwater coming out, but they did actually have a leak. He sent some guys out to listen, and he did come and get it fixed. So that got fixed last week. So. All right, any other questions about street report or facilities management? So we'll move on to the Goshen Fire District report. I'll just read that off for you guys. So building fires, there were 4 fires in structure other than building 1, mobile property fire, other 1, outside rubbish, trash, waste fire 1, medical assist, EMS crew 19, that still remains high. Motor vehicle accidents with no injuries 3, gas leak 1, water problem 1, animal rescue 1, assist police or other governmental agency 1, public service 1, good intent call other, I'm not sure what that is, that's 1, dispatch and cancel en route 10, authorized control burning is 2, false alarm, false call 1, smoke detector activation 1. So total number of incidents 49, and total number of incident types is 16. I did want to follow up with, I know that Birch had a request late last year about us improving our fire service in the city. And I spoke with our chief, Anthony Harder, this week, and we were talking just together about how we look forward in Goshen on how we can better support them. And so one of the things, we were contributing financial $2,000 annually. And at this time, what they are contributing to the city is that they provide services for going out and looking at areas for fire inspection to see if the road meets fire code, or even if we were to request for a commercial building inspection. I think we probably will need to come up with some sort of resolution so that we can pay them for that service. And that way they at least get some reimbursement for the time that they're spending for us. And then looking farther out, I think that we might try to model ourselves similar to what Elkins does, with Elkins contributing some to the fire department to help staff, the fire department, even though they're not funding it fully, they're helping to staff it so that we've got better fire rescue services as far as personnel on site more regularly. So we're looking at that in budget, the finance committee met, and we talked about that for long-term planning, future planning. So that's one of the things that we are looking at, how to get that into the budget, how it works in the budget, if it's going to be something to do in the near future at any time.
Thank you.
So just as a follow-up.
Appreciate it.
But we're not allowed to contribute.
The city can't just donate money to a nonprofit, and they're technically a nonprofit, so we are not allowed to do that as a municipality by state law. So that is correct. All right, so at this point, we'll move on to the planning commission report. I think Lacey's gonna get that.
We met last Tuesday for the meeting. We saw a variance inside of Asher Range. It was approved. POA regulations are technically up to Goshen City standard. So I reached out to Asher Range POA. That's actually something that we're doing a little bit more research on next week as well. And then the minimum square foot standard for POA makes it difficult to put a home within the parameters of this. Okay, the planning commission, we had a few things on the agenda. The first thing was Designscape. Designscape submitted a new landscape design as requested. Based on neighboring property owners' input, the acquisition of property was asked to be doubled. A vertical wide instead of a fence was asked, also first asked to be installed on the south side. Due to the citizen input, that was removed on the south side of the property in lieu of doubling up those trees. Designscape was asked to resubmit that landscape design next month at the meeting to, and they've already actually completed that. The planning commission granted Designscape to continue work based on safe and approved their landscape design with those changes. They were given a maximum of 60 days to put in the retaining wall, complete the retaining wall construction, plant all trees, shrubs, and plants, and any and all fencing and lines to be installed as quickly as possible based on the fence contractor scheduling. Planning commission also requested monthly inspections to be done by myself, the zoning official, until the new landscape design is fully completed and approved, at which time the inspection will be changed to quarterly to ensure that all plants are being well maintained. Due to the conditional use permit, all trees, shrubs, and plants that don't make it through the season and die will be replaced immediately. We also had a public hearing, the variance process and appeal process for subdivision regulations and planning commission decisions. Based on state regulations, all board of zoning adjustment decisions regarding variances to the zoning code must be taken to the court for appeal. Planning commission held a public hearing discussing the appeal process for the decision regarding changes to ordinance regulations of zoning code and subdivision. Planning commission agreed to recommend to city council an ordinance to state all planning commission decisions can be appealed by city council. I'm working on a subdivision regulation variance request, more of a planning commission decision variance request to be submitted to the planning commission and then to be overheard by city council. The appeal process is asked that all appeals be turned in no later than 10 days after a decision has been made.
Can you talk some more around no less than 10 acres? Can you explain that a little bit?
10 acres?
Yeah. Lot size.
Oh, I haven't gotten it on yet.
I'm sorry, I'm ahead of you. Okay.
Yeah, you're a little ahead of me. Right above that, it says 10 days. So
10 days. I'm with you. Looked ahead.
correct. So anybody that wants to appeal a planning decision has to put that appeal
Forward.
application in within 10 days to be heard at the following month. City council.
I don't know whether I need to ask this question now or if we're going to discuss it more with the Designscapes, but on the Designscapes, they called for an 8-foot tall fence on the plan. But it's my understanding that
They decided that they didn't want a fence. That was part of the discussion, and they
Okay,
were
so-
gonna double up on the vegetation, so
so
it's not
the-
gonna be a
There will
fence
still be
at all.
a fence that goes in across the front side of the property. From the front side of the
All right, but the fence that's on the plan then is no longer going to be installed.
The only part that was taken off, and landscape, please correct me, the only part that was taken off was the fencing on the south side of the property between the landscapes and the neighbors.
Because it was my understanding that, or at least I thought from our planning regulations, that we didn't allow fences over 6 feet in height.
It's 7 feet tall.
7 feet tall.
It is 7 feet tall, and that was successful.
There's also, it's my understanding that the planning commission approved the new design,
They did based on the changes.
okay? But was there anything said, that if there's anything outside of what that design is, that they have to come for approval?
Yes, which is why they were found in violation. They took down some trees, they were found in violation. There was a mistake made, yes.
I understand, but was that stated that they could not make any changes to that plan?
The current plan, yes, they do fully understand that now, yes.
Okay, because the first plan that they gave us, obviously, they did a lot more work way beyond what they had in that plan.
Correct. Designscape has, obviously in hindsight 2020, they did, take down some trees, without consent, based on the conditional use permit that they originally had, and without, consulting with neighbors. Designscape has not only doubled or tripled, but almost quadrupled the amount of plants that they will be planting on their lot based off of the original landscape design.
Because they've taken down that whole.
But I think we should take this to the.
I just suggest we wait until we get to that agenda item.
Okay,
and then we
so
can do it.
let's go ahead and finish up with the report.
So we also had a public hearing to change subdivision regulation and exemption requirements. Planning commission agreed that lot sizes in subdivisions should be no less than 10 acres and still follow ICC 503.2.3 code and Appendix C of the Arkansas Fire Prevention Code. Planning commission agreed that verification needs to be turned in for proof that all of the roads are actually up to code. It was proposed that there's still a preliminary plan turned in and signed administratively for the creation of any subdivision, which is required by the Washington County Assessor's Office anyway. And that after the infrastructure is completed, the applicant will submit a final plat to be approved administratively based on an inspection letter from an engineer stating that the road is in fact up to said code. Planning commission requested that the zoning official, myself, make changes suggested to the entirety of the zoning code and subdivision regulations and email them in for review. I'm hoping to get them done by the June meeting, but it's probably looking more like the July meeting, maybe August meeting. There's a lot of work that has to go into the changes that need to be made, and I'm making sure I dot I's and cross T's as I'm doing this, going through all of the ordinances and conferring with Northwest Arkansas Regional Planning Commission to make sure that all of those changes are sufficient. So after those are submitted to the Planning Commission for review, we'll go back and forth as far as any changes to the Planning Commission once made for a final submission to council for approval.
So now my question.
Yeah.
Said another way, a subdivision has to be 10 acres at the minimum.
No.
To be exact.
To
So
be
right
exact.
now, in our, yes, it says that they have to be 5 acres or more to have that exemption. We still just feel that it's a little bit too close. That the infrastructure really needs to make sure that we're following up with everything, and that 10 acres is the best Goshen a little bit better.
Got it. So how does that affect minor subdivision?
So, as you guys know, during the working session, minor subdivisions, I personally, I want to lower what that is, and I want to lower the lot size required for minor subdivisions and subdivisions in general. The city of Fayetteville allows 1 tandem lot be created off of a public road. We allow 4 right now, which it really just creates problems with the roads. It creates problems with private drives and who's maintaining those, who's responsible for the maintenance of those. Goshen, at the same time, the planning commission really doesn't want to restrict what people are allowed to do with their property, but we want to make sure that everyone has the access that they need for safety.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
We had discussions about roadways, about where that would start. Is that going further on the plan?
Well, we had that
So that it will be
in the
part of
working
what,
session.
yeah,
Correct.
that's
Yeah.
part of what she's gonna bring forward to the
Right,
planning
and
commission,
that's what they're working
and then
on,
they'll bring it back to
to
us.
bring forward.
And that'll be more clearly identified, I think, what you're talking about as far as what is a private drive, what is an access road, and what is a major.
Yeah, the definitions that are missing within the subdivision and zoning code regulations, those will be added as well.
There's no thought to change 2 acre rule, understanding it right?
So as of right now, I don't think that the 2 acre minimum, especially within subdivisions and the ways that we allow for that green space to be contributed or distributed throughout other parts of the subdivision. I think outside of the subdivision, that the 2 acre minimum is still going to the feel that Goshen has, especially for being that rural, that urban community that we all want. However, we are trying to change what the subdivision allows or what the law allows as far as like accessory dwellings and having dwelling units above garages and things like that on the 2 acres.
But the limit would be 2 acres per home, per family.
Correct.
Per dwelling.
Yep.
Per dwelling. Right now, you have to have 4 acres in order to have an accessory dwelling or a dwelling unit. An accessory dwelling is obviously like a mother-in-law, the complete structure that's just for dwelling. A dwelling unit is something that is like an addition to a detached garage or a room above a detached garage. Those are dwelling units. And we want to allow those. A lot of families have kids that want to live above garages, have, mother-in-laws or stepfather parents that, they're getting old and they want to be able to take care of them and still allow their own space. And there's plenty of space to do that on 2 acres, so why not allow it? We're trying to move towards that. Absolutely encouraging that. Yes.
All right, any other questions? Yes.
When you say we, Lacey, who do you mean specifically? Because I say that's what we are trying to do.
That's what I'm trying to do. Honestly, I've gotten a lot of feedback from citizens. I'm trying to change things. I'm trying to make things better for everybody involved. Obviously, I have to go through the process. So getting citizens on board, and also getting council on board. It's just really having citizens reach out and make that fair for them and have that with
Thank you, Lacey. And Macy's done a ton of work, and she's been doing a lot of classes and learning about planning, and so I'm very impressed with all of this, like, hard work she's delved into. So thank you for doing that. All right, JD, building and planning inspection reports. Hold on, let me pull it up for you.
Sure. On the side,
All right.
on the side.
Okay, during the month of April, we did 50 field inspections. I did start consolidating down, you see there on line 5. There will be a framing inspection, the electrical, rough end for the electrician, heat meter, rough end for the electrician on the gas line, for the heat meter installer on the gas line, pressure test, the rough end for that trade plumber. And started consolidating in the top before the couple pages long. So these 50 field inspections, I did go down to Lake Grange for 5 days and attend the code official of Arkansas code conference. Did 2 days of international code update for the new code that y'all just adopted. And then we did a full day of electrical and a full day of plumbing and then a day for the just ask questions and they didn't get instructions in it, whatever anybody wants to questions for. So we're going to try it. And we'll go back to the phone side. Any questions?
Thank you, JD. Next, we'll move on to the parks report. Do we have a parks report? We didn't receive one at City Hall. No park report this month?
I would speak,
Sure.
sure.
Adam, as I think I stated 2 meetings ago, he's still coaching 2 different softball teams. He's probably a little thin right now. I'll save the RDOT tap and update for the agenda item that's later in the meeting. But if y'all been to the park recently, it's in all of its spring glory. It's quite beautiful. Trees are leafed out, spring thermals are out, and it's quite a sight to be seen. Caleb LeBeau and volunteers relocated the disc golf from kind of a smattering around the park to centralized along the lower creek by the parking lot. That's gonna be a temporary location until the construction starts down there, and then it's gonna move back up on the acreage off the fire tower that was recently acquired. We're still experimenting with the permanent location as it relates to the current paying contract, so that will evolve over time as well. Again, we hosted the Highland Gravel Classic. Thanks to all the city staff and all the volunteers that came out. That couldn't have been done without everyone that came out. So it's quite incredible. And most importantly, thanks to all of you for supporting that event and allowing it to happen. Probably the bulk of the discussion that we had in the latest meeting was regarding the desire for academic collection and study of plants and animals at the park, and just kind of discussing a framework for allowing and regulating that sort of use, if it's allowed at all. So there's no real decision that's going to be brought forward. Right now, the ordinance, the park rules ordinance stands, but there is a desire from the university, some other groups and teachers and stuff to do some form of collection, and we don't know what that's going to look like, but expect more for that to come in the future. And that's pretty much about it.
Any questions?
Any questions?
Yeah.
Are we gonna host the gravel fight again next year? Graves has anybody discussed it?
It was he wasn't here, I don't think, at the
No, I
time.
know. Have you all-
Yes, it was presented to us, and I think we haven't officially said. Okay,
Yeah, the desire is there from the event organizer, but it hasn't been requested yet.
Thank you.
and I just want to, Lacey, or JD, I don't know which one, on the monthly construction report, there's the second one down that's for A&M Custom Homes. There's something wrong there because those people, Adam and Heather, don't even live in Goshen anymore. They sold their house in Waterford.
Oh, okay, so there are, because, Washington County only updates the, assessor's map every so often, so when the parcel is uploaded into iWork, it's uploaded as the original owner. Actually, there's, some lot sometimes that says it's still owned by Kevin Riggins, and people have lived there for a year. It's honestly,
They've been gone for a couple of years now.
I was like, please keep explaining, because I don't know, I don't have the report in front of me. So I'm assuming that, yeah, the homeowners on there sometimes do get mixed up, but we do it by parcel, and, the person who
All right, that
applies.
answers the question. They've been gone for over 2 years. That's why I was.
Sometimes it happens. Sorry about that.
Okay,
All right, we'll go on to the Arbor Board report. I guess Betty's going to give it.
There is some printout that you also have in your packet, to mention about the forestry 3.5 and the 440 seedlings that we gave away to the community. We did some, spring tree planting around the community building so we can water the trees. And, also added additional tree plaques, and we'll add more later, to replace the wooden ones and additional tree IDs. The other things that we've done is, May 23rd, we plan to be at the Goshen Farmers Market and have a booth there to work with residents, questions, and whatever information we can share with them. We also have dropped off a sample of the red cedar tree over here that's looking pretty sad. And the University of Arkansas lab is going to come back and tell me what the problem is. It probably is going to be root damage because when they dug it out, in Tennessee, they broke their equipment, which I was unaware of. And so that could be exactly what it is. So Colin F. and I talked about that today. I will be having the discussion, the second discussion with Sharon regarding the future. So, any comments?
Thank you.
Thank you, Ben.
Thanks, Betty.
Are they wanting to replace it? I mean,
Well, I think this is, so I want compensation for $500 a tree. Have planted with all, yeah, because it's a huge tree. So I'm just asking for compensation. It is not healthy for whatever reason, but I'll find out what it is.
Thank you, Betty.
I like the coast.
All right, so move on to Old City Business. Let me pull that up. Oh, so let me go back because I wanted to show you guys. So the first item on the agenda is going to be the bucket truck purchase. So the council had authorized for the purchase of the bucket truck.
Wait,
Wait, we moved.
we're on HKCE.
Oh, you're right. Okay. Sorry, I totally didn't get that. So HKCE, let me get back to that. So H is the animal control.
Nope.
H, oh, K is
Yeah.
first.
Yeah,
Sorry.
KCE.
HKCD.
It's
I thought you said H.
resolution regarding community building use.
Yes, that's K.
Yep.
So K, H, C, E.
Well, we just got done with H on 7. So next 8K, then 9C and 9E.
I'm sorry?
I'm lost.
I'm totally lost now.
H,
Okay.
K, C, D.
No, no, no.
8K is what we're on. 8K, and then 9C and 9E.
Oh, I was not aware we were moving 9, C, and E up. I
Yes.
thought we were gonna, because that's under new business. We're doing Old City Business at this time.
There's people here that are waiting on those, so I'd like to go ahead and get those out of the way. And that's what we approved. KCE.
That was not my understanding. My
Is it
understanding is we were
okay?
moving the
There's
old.
people here waiting. You want to move it up or no?
It's your
Then we can
decision,
make 'em-
council. I need to know what order we're going in.
Sit and wait through all this, but it's gonna be a
We
while.
can't hear you.
Colin.
8K.
8K.
So 8K is the resolution regarding community building use.
Yep.
Is that where we're at? Council agree?
Yes.
Okay.
Sure.
So that's what's pulled up. This is the resolution that Brian put together based on the comments and the decisions that you guys made at the last meeting. We need to review that.
Yes.
So the resolution states that nonprofit entities, public community groups, i.e. neighborhoods, POAs, and for-profit business entities shall be allowed periodic use of the community building at a discounted rate as set forth herein. And any interested nonprofit entity, public group, or for-profit business entity shall complete and submit an application to City Hall. It states that a nonprofit entity shall be entitled to use the community building up to 12 times per calendar year at a discounted annual rate. Annual rate should be set at $1. This gets us away from violating state statute where we give away stuff to nonprofits. So, and then that the public community building, neighborhood POA should be entitled to use the community building up to 12 times per calendar year at a discounted annual rate. Annual rate should be set at $50 per year and should be made at the prior to the first usage. And then it says that all for-profit businesses, entities within the city, such as corporations, limited liability companies, sole proprietorships, etc., shall be entitled to use community building up to 12 times per calendar year at the discounted annual rate set forth of $100, and a payment shall be made in full prior to the first usage. Questions?
So we
Comments?
talked about.
That's what was
Yeah.
discussed. That's how this came about. Is there something we need to discuss further?
I got input Saddle Club, and then I think Carolyn. What's the other club? What's the other club? Saddle Club and
Homemakers, I think the Homemakers Club is a non-profit.
Yeah, they'll both be. They're not technically 501c3s, but they're still not-for-profit entities, and so they would be charged $1.
is that enough
Oh,
for 12? You need more
we
than
don't
12?
really
Or?
use that. I just speak from the South Club. We only need clear during inclement weather in the winter months. During the warm months, we meet at the club, but we use it about 6 times a year.
Okay.
And, you know, what all, I mean, we're certainly happy to do so. We appreciate the council. We are a very small club and we are trying so hard to keep it going, but we have quite a bit of overhead with water bill, electric bill, taxes, maintenance. So we appreciate the opportunity to have our meetings in this community. It's something we can afford. Thank you.
You were concerned that 12 wasn't enough. That
Yeah, I didn't know how often they met. I thought,
Okay.
But as it says, you know, if they want to meet longer than that, then we can certainly take that on a case by case basis.
no, I think it's good.
All right. So do we
Motion
want
to approve the resolution?
Second.
to have a motion to approve?
Or do we need to read?
Read title.
Yep, make a motion to read in title only.
You want to read it? Let me just-
No, take the vote.
So, motion to read in title only, first and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Resolution authorizing certain use of the community building.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All right, so a motion and a second. Any public comment before we vote? All right, all those in favor? All right, motion so carries. All right, so since I'm thoroughly confused about what we are expected to do, next item on the agenda, so you're wanting to move new city business to under old city business and take on 9C.
Yeah, we've always, whenever there's people here that are waiting on particular items, we try to move this up so they don't have to sit through, because it can take 2-3 hours to get through this.
All right, is this everybody on council
Yeah.
agreeing with
All right,
this?
it's fine with me.
So let me pull that up. Let me get it over here.
Number 2.
All right, so 9C will be the designscapes. And I think this is gonna be Brian, right?
So after the planning commission meeting last week, I've looked into this some more. And I think what needs to happen is the extent of this appears as though it's going to be a totally amended conditional use permit is what they're going to request or need to request. And in order to do that, we're going to have a public hearing published in the newspaper, schedule it, have that held at the planning commission, and then it would come to you all at that point to determine if you're going to approve of that conditional use permit as amended or not. As it sits right now, I think the planning commission has made it abundantly clear that the current state of that property is not in compliance with what the initial conditional use permit is. One of the options that the city has would be to revoke the conditional use permit. My advice, however, is that we don't knee-jerk go to that step right now. I think we should give the applicant the opportunity to have the public hearing fully held and have everybody heard, all neighbors that are in opposition to it and the applicant themselves, and have it come here for a final determination to be made. The timing of that, according to our zoning regulations, the public hearing or the request for that needs to be filed by the 10th day of the month. And so where this puts us is having this public hearing at the July Planning Commission meeting and then have it here on your agenda for the July meeting. So that's where we are right now. There were some questions earlier about the Planning Commission, and unfortunately I was not there for that portion of the meeting, and I got here after. But as I understand it, the proposed site plan that was in front of them that night, they approved of, but they requested that the work be done within 60 days. I've talked to the attorney that's representing the applicants, and understandably so, there's hesitancy of spending what amounts to be probably north of $20,000 in work that would need to be done to come into or to follow through with that site plan. But without any certainty of it being approved, the hesitancy of spending the money is there, and I can understand that. And so my recommendation to you all is that we essentially, there's no action taken tonight, that we allow them that opportunity to go through and have the public hearing held and then bring it back here for you all for a final determination at that point.
So I'd like to hear from the applicant. I went through all the documents, and it sounds like what was initially requested didn't happen. I just want to hear a little bit of background on that and plans going forward.
Good evening. My name is Peyton Bentley. I'm at the Florida Law Firm, and I represent Designscapes in this matter. So if you have any specific questions, I can absolutely address those. There were some misunderstandings on what the conditions required of the property. Clearly, that was a mistake, and they should have come to the city and asked for clarification on that usage. They are trying to over accommodate to get back in compliance. The initial plan that was approved had about 20 plus existing trees on the property. It called for 64 trees to be planted, 43 shrubs and 14 perennial ground cover. The new landscape plan that the commission approved as amended provides for 128 trees, 180 shrubs, and 229 perennial ground covers for 537 plants. That is 396 more plants than were on the initial plan. They have, even at the planning commission, agreed to Mr. McGurk's comments on adding the double screen on the south side. And so they increased those trees. The plants themselves are going to be north of $30,000. And they're willing to do that to appease the city and get back in compliance to show their good faith on wanting to get this property back into that condition with the street buffering as well as the south neighboring buffering.
So was the planning commission specifically asking for that much? I mean, sitting here, that sounds like overkill to me, but I understand the need to get back to.
The planning commission just wanted our clients to provide a plan that showed a legitimate effort to get that buffering back in place. And they thought, let's provide as much as possible. And then when Mr. McGurk asked for even more, they said, yes, we will. Instead of doing just a single row of trees and a fence, multiple rows of trees that are staggered that provide more buffering than just a single row.
The planning commission made no specific requests. That's why that was the one more question.
So they're actually trying.
That's not gonna be fun.
No, this is,
Yeah, I've looked at it all. The numbers were my question. Go ahead.
This is as revised as what the planning commission actually approved, which includes the double.
no, it's not included. That's the
There's
prior.
a new one.
There's a
Newer
newer
one
one.
than that.
A newer one.
There's a newer new one.
Oh,
Also,
okay.
the newest specified new one here.
No, it's easy.
Really key. Oh, that's pretty cool.
Okay, so on this south side right here, sorry, I can't see it. There is Mr. McGurk's property is right here, and so they added all these trees right here, which these are big, I think those are, eastern redwoods, which, I mean, those get up to 20 to 30 feet with a large spread of actual canopy. So it's gonna accommodate the canopy that was lost. Then over on the south border, they doubled, actually, I mean, more than double up what was existing. The green on this plan shows what's in there right now. Everything in black is what's to be added. So all this is calculated to about 596 points. So they are trying to add increased buffering along the north side, the actual street, and mostly along the south. And I can provide specific figures if you'd like. Along the south border, that's 73 trees. The initial plan only called for 35.
Well, I went out there a week ago and went on to Kyle's property with him and walked out to the fence line. And from what was originally approved, okay, that whole area has been totally stripped.
Yes, sir.
Okay? And so I don't see that this is overdoing it. I'm just.
I agree that's not overdoing it. We're trying to put it back into the condition it was.
I mean, you're never gonna get it back in the condition it was. We can all agree to that, can we not?
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned multiple times, not to you all, but to the other committee with people that are involved in things that, you know, we made an error. We really thought that the purpose of the conditional use permit, the primary concerns of the city was the sight line, you know, so that our thought was that there was trees on this property that was still providing buffer, and that what you all saw from the road. With our understanding was that if we kept our net and stuff behind our top building, it would be good. You know, that was a mistake on our part to say that. So this was our attempt to kind of put it back.
Yeah.
We can't put it back.
No, and that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
And the trees were all in that back area, you know, and then we've also had a comment from some of the people that, you know, we'd like to see more screening in the front of it so we can filter your cars. And so that's why we went a little above and beyond out front there that had additional stuff that in areas where we did remove it. So, kind of what our thoughts on that.
Well, in my opinion, as you have gone above and beyond, and you're trying to run a business, and you owned up to the mistake that was made, I think what you recommend is due course of action, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Y'all's call.
So what was the outcome on the fence? Did the neighbors want a fence? I was at the planning commission and it seemed to kind of go back and forth and I couldn't hear well enough to say what the outcome was. So
I think it was decided that the preference would be to have a natural buffer instead of a fence. And so we did, that's what y'all preferred, to the double row trees and remove the fence in the plan. So I left it's not across the front where you all can see the parking on the street. We left that section of fencing, which is really gonna be more screen. It's not gonna be like an up and down vertical type thing, because the screening primarily, you know, we planted in front of that on the street side. And commonly affected the screen there. So we removed the south fence, so we removed the connection point between that parking screen and the south gate, which was gonna be a gate on the top there.
On the trees that are gonna go not along the lot line, but there's some that go along the existing wooded area. Okay. What are you gonna do there to give these trees a chance to survive Okay, and the fact that water from rain is going down there like a river. Because where the wall was put in, the water's been diverted around that wall.
I don't think that it was diverted around that wall. I think it was coming down that way off the whole time. But we have a lot of underplanting there, you know, that's what a lot of that underplanting is for, kind of help
Okay,
slow that water down.
yeah, I'm just,
Yeah. We have, many shrubs going under the tree row, and then the additional tree row is kind of self-feeding, self-spreading, perennial grass. That'll go in there.
And what I heard is the intent is to plant and put all that in. If it doesn't survive, it'll be replaced.
like,
Absolutely.
I agree.
So Brian, is your recommendation still that we table this?
Yes,
Okay.
and
I'll
allow
make a
them,
motion that we do.
allow them to go through the full application process, and it'll end up back here. I'll second Max's motion.
And for my clarification, this means that they don't need to plan anything until after it's been approved.
That's correct. Yeah, it'll be.
So, well, hold on, we're gonna wait till July.
That's
to have them
the
plant.
that's the timing of, that's the only way it can work with our zoning regulations.
Because they don't wanna go ahead and plant any trees.
Well, they could.
I don't know what their intentions are, but spending $30,000, as their attorney expressed.
That's one thing, and we, you know, like again, we're supposed to not make any more changes to the property without permission. And two, I don't want to institute the whole plan, because it's a ton of money. And then to have completely kick off the property, you know, so, you know, I wouldn't be opposed if y'all say, you know, you're gonna be mad at me making some changes to the property without it being approved. Especially some of the buffering between Highline and House right away, you know. That was one of my initial suggestions of the zoning board, was to go ahead and start there and get some of that done. And that's not a big expense, you know, but,
And the neighbors are here. I'd like to know their input on this as well.
I think that was the most important when that come back, right? So it will come back.
Yep, so, yeah, that is what the motion's on the table at this time, is to table this and bring it back.
Yeah.
I think that the question that we're asking is whether or not he needs to wait or whether he can plant in the interim.
well,
If I were gonna spend $30,000 and I might not get approval, I wouldn't plant a thing.
Yeah.
Personally.
I don't think
But
we're
I
gonna
al-
be
but I
mad if somebody adds plants. That you understand that would be a risk. I wouldn't feel like it's much of a risk. But the problem has been taking away stuff. So seems to me that if you wanted to start planting a few trees at the worst spot, I mean, I certainly wouldn't be against that.
I do just want to point out that one complication with things is that the size requires some foot out there.
Birch, do you want to hear from
Sure.
citizens?
Sure.
Yeah, this is probably, focus the black. I mean, not really. If they're going to have to submit for another conditional use permit with another plan, and that will come before the next month.
July.
Or 2 months.
Be 2
Well,
months.
they're going to, they're gonna ask for the conditional use in July, oh, we did in July, so what are they gonna do in June?
We have to put it in the paper for a public hearing for everybody to be heard. So that requires mandates on our zoning regulations.
Then they're gonna have to submit for another conditional use permit. They're gonna have to show a plan. I truly wish that they come sit down with me, those of us who are really concerned about all the things that and that's gone wrong so far. before, talk to us before you even make a plan.
I would greatly appreciate that.
I, hopefully, I think it's worked out. I don't, there's no choice. But let's get done, get done. We're happy. They know that they've outgrown their areas already. And, they know that that is last practice. But we're, that part of the profitability of your business is still going to be there. So, make us happy.
Really quick, sorry, not to know what you have, if you're looking at the calendar and Brian, the conditional use permit has to be submitted by the end of the month. If we could get that turned in, by the end of month, May, the next place, or sorry, the housing is on the 11th. Is that, put it, okay, to sit here in June, based on what the calendar says, but
The filing deadline for it to be included on the agenda is the 10th day of the month. So it'll have to be filed by June 10th to go on the July agenda.
but if we do it earlier.
But we're already past the 10th day of May for June.
We can't,
Oh, it has to be.
we can't do it
Month
early.
prior.
Yeah.
The month prior.
Okay. So we got numbers here.
All right, Mr. McGirt.
Thank you. Appreciate everyone that's taking the time to look through the packet that I submitted. I didn't prepare a formal statement today. After 2 meetings over 60 days preparing that, I'm kind of exhausted. I guess where I'm a little bit confused is where it got lost in translation from the March Planning Commission meeting to this most recent Planning Commission meeting. I'm just gonna read the minutes from that meeting where
From the March meeting?
From the March meeting where they were so thoughtfully recorded. Where Brian stated there is a need to come back and reapply for a new conditional use permit or an amendment to the conditional use permit that was approved. So the motion that was made by Tom Henley was, my motion would be that we take into consideration the public's complaints and give the applicant 60 days to resubmit the conditional use application with a new landscape plan and all the conditions that were listed in the original approval. There was some discussion that followed and they voted unanimously 7-0. In that 70 days, no conditional use application was filed. The zoning ordinances are clear how to apply for that. The city attorney knows that, the mayor knows that, and city staff know that. Where did the loss of that motion take place? And why was the site plan submitted the Friday before the planning commission meeting, Thursday before the planning commission meeting, I'm sorry, in such a way that now we're delaying it to a point where the plants can't be replanted? I mean, this has affected our lives for long enough. It just keeps on going. And it's the city's inaction over the past 4 years that have led us into this position. I recognize that it was none of your intent for that to happen, but that's where we're at. And that's my honest chat. So I appreciate everyone's consideration.
Your answer,
Yeah.
I advised their attorney incorrectly. That's where the breakdown was, and the application did not get submitted. And so that falls on me as far as where the delay is on that.
Yeah.
As far as the site plan being submitted and the timing of that, I'm not sure
Yeah, I appreciate that, Brian.
where that comes from.
Yeah, and I know it will. I'm just.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Just one more note on that, is we want to get to a conclusion that it's affected our lives greatly for 60 days. I know, so we didn't want to come to some agreement, and if that's part of sitting down and having a conversation, we'd be glad to do that. If there is a finish line at the meeting, you know what I mean, like it feels like a little bit of a finish line, just moved a little bit on, so we'd be happy to do that, you know, so we can get the resolution or get it resolved.
Well, I think that as both of you, the neighbors have said, you get together, hash it out, and make something that is amenable to them as well as you, and move forward. If this is what you agree to with them, what you have in this latest deal, then move forward with this and make out the new application. Okay? If all of that's done, I think as Max had said earlier, that if you agree with them and plant some of this, ahead of putting in your application and getting everything done, which is gonna go out to what, August now?
July.
No, but July, and then
July.
So it would be decided in July.
it would be decided in July, okay? Then, I mean, I don't see that if you come to an agreement and everybody agrees and you do those, we're not gonna take your livelihood away from you. I don't believe.
Well, I think the public, this probably goes without saying, I think the public hearing goes very quickly. Before y'all sit down, have that discussion, come to some sort of agreement. It's done for all intents and purposes.
So
I think we have a motion and a second on the table.
Yep. So I have a motion and a
My,
second.
my only comment
Let's
would
clarify
be,
that motion, please.
to your point, the tough part will be the timing of it and trying to plant that in the heat of summer. So is that being realistic in the timetable?
Well,
And we're really pushing more towards the September, October
but we're
timeframe.
saying as well, if they feel,
Well, you guys want to amend your motion to say that if they want to, go ahead and plant whatever they want to plant, but that's okay.
they can plant what they want to plant. That's,
But, I mean, I don't know.
I don't want to speak for my other neighbors, but what I would rather see happen is a good plan that everyone agrees with, and the trees be planted in the winter when it's the preferred time to be planted, so that their investment is maximized. I mean, no matter what happens, the trees are not going to provide screening in the next 2 months.
Right.
They're going to take years to grow. And I think this winter is the best time to do that, even now with the risk. So I'd rather slow down a little bit and take that time. And with the exception of the understanding that no more trees are going to be removed. I want that to be clear.
I think they understand that.
Okay.
Well, so that limiting factor, Kyle, is the 60 days planning commission recommended to have it done. Is that what you're saying?
Well,
I think
that
that,
was an unlawful rule.
But I think what Kyle's saying is the planting itself,
Agreed.
understandably, wouldn't happen until fall or winter.
Correct.
and I do think, and I think Brian and you and I discussed this, that typically for the conditional use in the original plan, it was for them to have it completed within a year.
That's what the zoning regulations state.
So,
We'd be happy to go to fall. If we can get it, a plan approved and everyone's agreeable, all along.
so I'm just gonna state this. My understanding is council is okay for them to start planning at any time. And that you guys would like to table this and bring it back in July for a public hearing and then brought to council for approval of a new application for conditional use. Is that correct?
that is correct.
And is that what we are going to vote on?
Yes.
Okay. Any other public comment before we vote?
May I make one mistake, something the clerk said? Just put on the record, that both party comes in turns, then.
But the parties are gonna,
Yeah.
Well, but that needs to be part of it. I agree.
After turn, then it should just be a more finale situation than them having to worry about it.
But it still has to get approved by council.
Yes.
Ultimately.
Yeah.
All you agree that council's not going to control it, not going to.
Agreed.
And there are other neighbors within 200 feet of the property that would need to be so notified.
Sure.
That's
All parties can really agree. But I'm just saying, if they do that, go ahead and plan it, all agree that this public meeting is more a formality and council trying to come up with run out tonight.
Agreed.
That's it. Put on the record.
Yep. Lisa, you had a comment as well?
I actually have a question. You guys outlined city staffing well. So planning commission agreed that at the day of the planning commission meeting, there's an inspection, and then it was to be quarterly after that. That needs to be more frequent, can I stay with that schedule?
Well,
I
I don't think they're really gonna be, they have to have their meeting first.
So we're gonna table
And we're gonna
inspections until
table,
after
All of that.
all of that's done.
Like Carolyn Gordon, for the high, your business is growing, and that can be like that your business is growing, and you certainly want, you be successful. It work, you're working hard, but, my question is, you're outgrowing that area, and you're already looking at how to do part of that business elsewhere. What are you thinking long term? What part might you be moving and what might be left here?
We don't know that until, like, we don't know. Like,
So look at that, we just hang on, talk
we
about
don't
it.
know the property. I mean, there's so many unknowns with that, so, I think it's really
All right. Any other public comment before we vote? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion so carried. All right, so back to the agenda since I
Wait,
am
There's
lost.
one more.
no, there was two more, wasn't there?
I didn't use the last one.
E. Is that old or new?
From new business.
It's
right?
on new.
So
planning
item
commission
E from new business,
Yeah, it's the appeals.
planning commission appeals decision. Let me get onto that. Planning commission appeals decision, and that's Lacey. Lacey, we're moving on to new business item E, planning commission appeals decisions.
You'll need to jump in on that.
Yeah, I kind of went over in the planning commission report, so, yeah, I have a comment to offer, but not much more.
I think what the planning commission on this wants you all to consider is, and Lacey, tell me if I'm recalling this incorrectly, that you all adopt an ordinance that specifies any decisions that they might make is appealable to city council. And that there would be an appeal process, a form that would be drafted for somebody to fill out and
Yeah, it's kind of like BZA, and it's basically, in our ordinance or in our regulations, not by ordinance, but in our regulations, that any decision made by BZA is appealed by the court. They in turn want it put into our code, that a decision made by planning commission is appealed to council. So there needs to be some kind of a request form, that goes before council, whether it be a lot line split, whether it be to get an ordinance, something that planning would initially overhear first. And then whatever that decision is, it's not agreed on, with the applicant, that it comes before council.
That there's an appeals process.
Yeah.
And I think that we discussed at the planning commission that might need to be an ordinance on how appeals are brought to the council.
yeah, and so that's what we need to talk about is just the specifics of what everyone thinks that what that should look like.
Correct, that not only do we need an ordinance for it, but then we have to find a way to put it into regulation. And have it done.
For zoning and planning.
Yeah, so I think in part, this was the result of the gates and the subdivision. And that Mr. Padilla brought it forward and there was a vote at the planning commission and it never made it to council. So we didn't know about it unless we read the planning commission or these minutes. So I agree. I think, did I misspeak, council? I think you're right.
Absolutely, and it's also been, more known now that, there will be an official planning commission report every month with our planning commission.
So it's oversight.
Absolutely.
It has that appeal process. So yeah, I don't know what that looks like, Brian, but I would totally support a draft ordinance that speaks to that. Okay.
Yeah, I'll second that.
I'll prepare one. Yeah.
All right, I think that's the only, that was the only
that's it.
thing with that item.
Yep.
What, was there something else that we were gonna take out of order?
That was it.
I think that's it.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry for the confusion.
All right, so those are done.
I'm glad I wasn't allowed.
All right, so now we're gonna go back to old business, item A. Is that correct?
Yes.
So, the city council authorized us being the city to buy a bucket truck for the street department for use in trimming city trees. And we were able to purchase this bucket truck for $29,950. It is a 2013 International 4300. It has 63,500 miles on it. When we brought it back up from right outside Dallas, Texas, and it now has almost 64,000. It's parked out back. It's in excellent condition. I'm very thrilled that we were able to purchase this at that price. Everything on it works. We've already contacted Alltech, and they're going to be doing a training with us on June the 4th for the city. They, for the training, we either had to send our guys there or bring them here. The cost was a little bit cheaper to send them there, but they had to go to St. Joe's, Missouri, which is 5.5 hours away, and use another truck other than this one. We chose to bring them here for training because we can get up to 15 people trained. We put it out for our officers to be able to get trained if they would like, as well as the fire department. So we might have, 8 to 10 people getting trained on the vehicle. There will at least be 4 of us that will be trained on the use of the vehicle and operations on it and get certified. And it is registered, tagged, licensed, insured, and we are registered with Alltech as well, which is the company that provides the lift service for the truck. So, any questions about it?
Did the insurance price get added into the budget yet? Okay.
Yeah.
So when the insurance bill would
Municipal
come in
league
on.
insure that.
Yeah, municipal league insures it, just like all of our municipal vehicles.
So Mayor, as we grow and add to our fleet, we have that, we now have the city old police car, 5 police vehicles or so. Do we have a place for all these?
So, when we get to the budget, we're gonna have some discussion about it. They actually, so Jerry makes fun of me because he sees my shop and how I squeeze things in. The city's no different. So that bucket truck and the side-by-side fit in one bay with the lawnmowers as well.
Sounds like my garage.
And then we, and the lift, yeah. So, oh yeah, the lift for the gravel spreader, or the salt spreader. So all that's in one bay.
If you got it, you got it.
And then I got the one-ton truck in one bay, and the police officers are now down to one bay. There's no more room. Yeah. So, and we're gonna talk about
The mayor's property is the next one.
They're gonna volunteer your driveway, Bertie.
So,
Have 3 kids, forget.
and just so you guys, if you haven't seen, it's an excellent bucket truck, and we did get a really good deal on this. So and I've been looking for a long time, and I was really happy we were able to get something. Oh, 60-foot reach. It's actually 47-foot reach. Yeah. I don't want our guys up 60 feet anyway.
How tall are those lights out there in the parking lot?
If you want us to get a violation notice or most of it's electric, then we would go out there and adjust those, but I'm not willing to do that. One of the things too is that this bucket truck is rated for electrical lines, and I have no intent of having our guys close to electric lines. So any of that kind of trimming will be done by, a professional tree trimming service, and that's why we would continue to have some of that money in the budget for those types of things. Same thing, no huge, large trees are going to be removed with this bucket truck. There was a question, we brought it up last time, Paula brought it up again about, we did purchase this through the street fund, and we primarily will only use it on the streets. If we were to ever use it, say, for the park or something, we can, at that point, have the general fund reimburse the street fund for the use of the vehicle. And we did clarify that with the facility before we ever decided to even purchase it. So just for you guys to understand and be clear on. Yeah.
On the color one, but they picked up the tab on that?
On some of those, yes. Yeah. And then we don't have, that's not the primary use. This truck is really because we have so many trees in Goshen that, especially bad weather, snow, they won't be hanging in the road, but then all of a sudden they are. And so it's difficult to get a tree service to come out and just do a few things, and getting them coordinated to do that. And I think that this is a huge benefit for us to have this service and to be able to get our guys up there.
There's one when you have a tow, why, don't
After June 4th.
Market for the
That's when our
training day.
It is Tree City.
It is a tree city. It doesn't really want our trees over the road. So, all right. Other new business. We'll move on. So the city hall update. Let me get back to the pictures because there are some pictures I want to show you guys about city hall too. Well, there's two things. So city hall drainage. There's been continued issues with drainage around city hall. This isn't new. This has been going on for a long time, but we have been digging some ditches and putting in French drains, putting in curtains with drains to try to mitigate for some of the water that intrudes around City Hall. There was a water leak. They have to fix that, so that is better. I wanted to just show you guys the water that comes out of the drain. This is constant after they fixed the water leak. So, and it's continuing to drain like this all the time. This used to come up back here in the middle of the asphalt, but that French drain was dug over and down to here so that it doesn't come up in the asphalt, because we are going to get that fixed for the fire department back there, as well as this culvert. So, so that's in the work right now. And as far as the actual city hall building itself, I wanted to show you guys some of the work that was completed. So these are the new awnings. There's awnings over the windows. This back door, this new back door here. There will be an awning that hopefully will go all the way from here over this patio in the back that we're going to anticipate getting done. And then the sign's not up yet, but we do have the lettering to put these up where it will say Goshen City Hall and Goshen City Hall on this side as well. The awnings here are across there. We are still waiting on the bid for a sign for the Goshen Police Department to cover where it says fire station, where it was the old fire station. So we'll have that sign once we are able to get the bid back from the company. So the glass doors have been installed to protect the metal so that it's not going to rust or wear any further. So all the doors are covered with a glass exterior storm door now. We have spoken with Tomlinson Asphalt about adding some asphalt to the back end and along the side to provide for parking. And so this is just kind of a rough drawing of what that'll look like. I'll show you some other views of it. So you would have a couple or 3 spots here, and then we would add asphalt on this side that would provide for more parking. We would actually have it marked where people pull in and park in the other direction. We're at the point now where we're going to have 5 daily staff people parking at the parking lot, and then we have people coming in throughout the day. We just don't have any parking there right now. So this is kind of what it would look like, after they add some of the parking that's there. So Tomlinson should be starting on that fairly soon to complete this portion of that part of the asphalt on there. And then we are going to have this sealed, this current asphalt that's there, because of all the cracks that are there. There's a lot of water intrusion. If we don't seal that, that's going to end up pulling up and being problematic. So that will be underway in the next month or 2. Any questions about that right now? Okay. Moving on, job postings. So you guys got all of the
All 50 of them.
many resumes that were submitted.
No wonder
So
you
we had lots of
send it all.
we had lots of applicants, and
You
we
asked
did
for 'em. Don't
we
forget
did narrow it down, and I
You
think we
asked
have an
No, I
excellent hire, and we'll offer her a job, and hopefully she'll start this week. So her name is Abigail Bryan, and she interviewed extremely well. I was very impressed. these ladies did a great job narrowing this down. So, any questions about that? All right. RDOT update. So the RDOT update that I have is I spoke with them today. They should be finished with the overlay by the end of the week, permitting weather. And then they will start, finishing up the striping of what's left on the striping, have it done by the end of next week. I did request the request that you guys have made from the council for the decrease in the speed, as well as the passing zone, passing lane. The first person that I reached out to, who I normally speak with RDOT, and didn't get a response. And then I was told, you probably need to speak to someone else. So I emailed that person and I'm waiting to hear back whether they will decrease the speed. I've asked for it to be decreased to 35, and then those areas of speed taken out further, and decrease that speed earlier on before you get downtown into the city. So I'm waiting to hear back from that. I also asked for all the data as far as the numbers on that traffic study that we had done at the intersection, and I requested what, if we can, getting a crosswalk at that area. So, and I don't know what that's going to entail, but I'm waiting to hear back from them. So,
a crosswalk that goes to no sidewalk.
Well, there's plans to eventually have a sidewalk, but I want to know what the process is and what the cost would be, because at this point we don't know. So if I'm going to ask for all this other stuff for RDOT, I'm going to ask for that too. So that's where we are with the RDOT follow-up at this point. We do have an application that we'll have to have in by the end of the month for our second phase of TAP grant for trail. And so we will get that hopefully completed this week, or if not by next week. So we get that application submitted for the second phase of our TAP grant. And as far as the update on the current grant that we're awaiting, Luke Jost, I think he said those will be in by the end of the week, that final design plan. And then we will submit that to RDOT. That's the only thing we're waiting on for them to approve it. That should align well with our HUD grant, because we are, and Lacey's going to present on that, which is the next thing on the agenda as far as where we are with the HUD grant. So,
can we step back for a second? I have one question.
Sure. On
the new employee. Okay. It didn't say in the application, I think Colton at the last meeting had, how many hours is that a week?
So at this time it's 18 hours. No, 16 hours per week.
2 days?
2 days a week right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it didn't say that in here. I wonder how many you got thinking it was full time.
No, we're going to talk more about that when we get to the budget, about what we need to look forward to. So.
When it's posted on Indeed, it specifies.
Yeah.
So it's different.
Pardon me?
When it's posted on Indeed, it lays that out in detail.
Okay, because in here it didn't.
Yeah. Okay.
As Russell said, we're trying to correlate the RDOT project with the HUD project. Ken has been working tirelessly through COVID on this environmental review. He spoke with Mr. Durante, he's been waiting on 1715 form to come back from Little Rock and find out there was an incorrect submission of the public notice. So we had to resubmit that. The ending time on that public comment period was yesterday. So came through by the office today, and we resigned the 1515 form. That will be sent to Little Rock for review. When they review that, we'll get a 1516 form that will release the funds, for lack of better words, in our PRGR portal. That's when we'll start uploading our action plan, projects, activities, and all of that. And then as we go through there, they'll release funds as we did based on the work that's been completed on part. The project can start as soon as we get the 1715 form. We will, after all of that is back, is when they start submitting for bid request. RDOT, Craft and Toll is going to be the project kind of manager, so they're going to be the ones who put in the paper and really look at like bid And then narrow it down to presenting the project and move on. We're supposed to have it absolutely finished by December.
So to answer that question more specifically, once we get this release from HUD or RDOT, whichever comes first, Crafton and Tull, once they get that go ahead, it will take 2 months before we are actually able to start the project because it'll have to go out for bid, we'll have to get the bid approved, and the council will have to actually accept the bids. So 2 months after we get that approval, I would anticipate there's no way we can start on either project for the next 3 months.
When we were met with the project end date for RDOT and the HUD was December of this month. With the delay that we had with republishing the public comment notice, I wouldn't suspect that it would be any more than an additional 30 to 45 days. So hopefully this is January beginning or of February.
The reason I asked that question is outside of our city, but it's, again, I just want to know what we will require to keep track of any of that.
We are. Yeah. We still have to track all of that. Even though we've contracted Crafton to oversee it, we still have to track all of it. Still will. Any other HUD questions, comments, public input? All right, thank you, Lacey.
No, I'm saying for the next agenda item as well.
That is true. Annexation. So let us know where we're at with annexation and when it's
So,
talking.
we finally got, listed every address, parcels, included on the GIS map. Worked with North Arkansas Regional Planning, Stephanie was amazing, in that aspect. After we got the legal description, we sent that to the Arkansas GIS office and got our letter back. Now that we've gotten our letter back, we were able to go to Brian's ordinance. We have an ordinance, and do our first reading, hopefully crossing fingers of our ordinance today. Next month, we hope to, start in the paper, that we're gonna have a public hearing, next month for the annexation. And allow, people to come in and comment, on yays and nays, their feelings on the annexation. Hopefully we can wait for third reading next month and approve the ordinance. If we approve the ordinance next month, the legal description, all of that will go to the election board and start, crossing the T's and dotting I's to get that completely going and have on the ballot by November 1st.
That being said, do we want to go ahead and do the first reading of the ordinance tonight?
I'll make a motion. Did we? Reading title only.
No, he hadn't created the ordinance yet. We had to wait for the legal description.
This just came through today.
Yeah.
I'll second Colton's motion.
And I don't even have it on my computer to pull up, I don't think.
You guys all
I've got it.
copy of it though.
I've got it.
Yeah.
That was the last one.
Yes.
Subcommittee, Gene Swanson, our chair of the subcommittee, Gene walked in, working back and forth with one person on the amazing. Very, very excited about this and kind of being a part of it.
Maybe. All right, let's get the ordinance. Fair enough.
Do it.
Let's make your motion.
Colton did. And I seconded it.
Oh, he did? I didn't hear.
Ready for roll
So,
call.
yeah, we have a motion and a second to, read in title only.
Yes.
The ordinance for, yep.
Molly Anderson. Yep. John Valencourt,
Yes.
George Wright,
Yes.
Sean Mayfield.
Yes.
Max Boy,
Yes.
Colton Martin.
Yes.
An ordinance submitting to the voters of the city of Goshen, Arkansas, and other affected persons the question of annexation to said city of Goshen, certain contiguous territory, and declaring an emergency. Discussion.
Yeah, I just, excuse me. One comment and one question. Talked to a few families that would be annexed, and I think the general theme from them was it's gonna happen to us either by Springdale, Fayetteville, or Goshen. But since we have the pre-planning area, we have first dibs, for lack of a better word. So I think that's positive. I think the feedback they told me was, well, what does it mean for me? So I think we need to be prepared to have that discussion.
We do have some talking points that Lacey's put together for that.
Okay.
Yeah, we've actually been talking about, so, one especially and actually Washington County can always get out here from the production side. Also, having the additional review of the additional police officer. So those kinds of things moving forward. I mean, the street maintenance, Washington County, right now is a
Overwhelmed.
lot of roads. The roads are pretty maintained right now, so we'll adopt Washington County roads, that will eventually get maintenance on them. So we'll get street maintenance, we'll get better police protection. They'll have that rich community feel, they're going to be a part of the county. They'll be able to vote on council members and mayors and be a part of that. They still get the same fire coverage, they're in the fire district, so that won't really change for them.
Still keep their same sewer, water,
Yeah.
trash service, all of that will remain the same.
Yep.
So I think those are great talking points, and I did share about maintenance and about police, and they were happy to hear that. Obviously, the converse is, what's it going to cost me? And I said, well, your
Taxes are
taxes most likely will increase.
Of like how much their property taxes is gonna go up.
So if they want to know, they can
They can
call.
call me absolutely.
Very good.
We can give them a specific number as to what that tax will look like in addition to what they pay currently.
That's great. Great work.
And it's
So,
not a huge amount.
No, it's not.
so the one question in the ordinance, section 7 talks about if this is approved, the following shall be extended within 3 years. And of course, we say it'll happen immediately. So is that just by statute we have to say within 3 years? That's correct. Yeah.
Because once, even if it goes to the election, if it is voted in and it is approved via election, we still have to go and submit that to the court. And then they have to go ahead and ratify it. And then it has to go before.
And we-
goes off to
Oh, it does say, I was say we have to report
When we do it.
updates on those services being implemented.
But our intent is once it's approved, we're providing these services.
Correct.
We're not waiting 3 years.
Yeah. And I have reached out to Judge Deacons and I haven't heard back from him yet. In meetings I have with him every month, he's going to be happy to relinquish him duty of road maintenance on any of the county roads.
I'll see him tomorrow, Mayor. I'll be happy.
Yep.
All right.
So,
That's all the questions I have. Thank you.
any other comments from the public?
A couple of questions. First off, how much more, how many more, what's the
Correct. I don't think it's going to be to answer your question one step at a time. Lacey's got the number of people as far as the number of homes that we're annexing. The increased revenue just on the real estate taxes will generate between $200,000 and $400,000 worth of additional income to the city, which will really help us to be able to expand some of the services we need to provide to the whole city, because it's hard when you're not able to quite get to the budget to provide enough of that support. And then that's just on the real estate side. Any sales that are made via Amazon, Walmart Plus, all of that is all going to be additional sales tax revenue. So the realization, how much revenue, we don't know exactly. I anticipate it's going to be upwards of $600,000 to $700,000 in additional revenue from that annexation. But we won't know until after we've gone through an entire fiscal year and determine what that looks like for us. The drawbacks, like you said, and that's one of the things we've looked at as well, is that cities that go into annexing areas, you get an additional bump in your revenue, but then over the long course of the duration of time, it's an expenditure on the city to upkeep and maintain roads, tree trimming, street signs, all those things for infrastructure that we look at. But we feel like that this is the appropriate step in that annexation to bring Goshen to a level where we can actually help benefit all of the citizens that are here in our area as well, because of the additional revenue. Because we can actually purchase some of these capital improvement, things that we need to be able to better maintain our streets and buildings and have better personnel moving forward. So.
To speak to the increased population of Goshen, it's going to be easier for us to get up with the last line. That's kind of one of the things they look at. We we'll probably be able to draw a post office and a couple of delivery drivers and get that with our last line.
Like I said, we haven't done any, just been put down, even though it's just a pocket. I'm sorry. Okay, we do know it's gonna be a one hour you guys, I'm sorry. It is gonna be a net positive, just with the cost of what we pay out in the government now, adding one full-time person, a vehicle, and a road maintenance, which what the potential revenue would be ongoing. And so we won't have to hire these police officers just because we have next to this one area. So we have an ongoing revenue stream that will be a net positive.
And one of the things we looked at and where we wanted to annex is that this area has the highest per capita real estate, and it also has roads that have been fairly recently, most of them upgraded. So we don't have any roads that are in really horrible condition. There's some work that needs to be done, but nothing that is terrible. We didn't annex any big bridges. We didn't annex any areas of, huge trouble as far as maintenance. So, I think it's going to be a net positive for us. It's all on Fayetteville. It's all Fayetteville water. No, it's all septic. All septic. Yep. So for those of you who don't know, Chris Calhoun lives just over across from the park. So, yep.
Just to speak to the water, did you do an update?
I haven't done the update on the water yet.
Oh, well, we don't have. Okay, never mind. We'll wait. All right.
It's here somewhere. I know we're doing an update on the water. So. Yeah.
So from like a output view, I think one of the biggest impediments to financial growth in the city is the fact that we're a huge veteran community. And that has a long-term cost effect without a lot of businesses supporting that growth. Does this new entity provide opportunities for that? And has the zoning conversation been happening after?
That's actually how this partly came about. So part of this annexation came from the planning commission subcommittee that we devised to look at how do we grow Goshen and have better ability to grow our commercial areas. And so there are large tracts of land within this annexation that would be easy to develop for commercial real estate. And so we are still looking at commercial real estate within Goshen proper that we have currently, but there are some limitations to currently what we can rezone for commercial. We are looking to do some rezoning, but that is what we're looking at with part of this. Yeah, that's a good question. That's part of our overreaching global view of how do we get this to a point where we can be better sustained as a city as far as revenue. And so the only other way to grow revenue is to increase businesses. So, other questions before we move on? Thank you, and thank you, Lacey and Kashana. You guys have done an amazing job getting this annexation underway and jumping through all the hoops, because there's a lot of hoops to jump through.
Great work. Brian just told us no when you stopped.
Well, we're trying to annex out a lot of things to jump through. All right, there's an injunction update.
Wait, do
and
we
Brian,
need to vote? Did we ever vote on that?
oh, sorry.
Okay.
That's a reading.
Start reading.
Okay.
So we'll read it, and then we'll read it again next month, and next month we might be able to adopt it. Yeah, waive the third reading and adopt it, but this time is the first reading.
If we can, I gotta check on that, because the statute on this is pretty
specific.
Yeah.
We have to make sure we do.
We gotta get that right.
That's right. All right.
Just with the timeline of getting this on the ballot, making sure that I get back and forth with board and last for election board. I think it would be wise if we can't.
We'll look at it. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll definitely make sure we get all the deadlines met.
I'm leaving at the end of June, and I don't want to miss any opportunities. Obviously, I'm not leaving my dad coming back, but
deserves a vacation. All right.
I just don't want to miss any opportunities to make sure that I can stay on top of it.
All right, moving on to the injunction update, Brian. I think you
Yeah, so, after our last council meeting, I sent a letter to Dale Carlton, who's an attorney in town, but he's, Mr. Browning's realtor listing agent. And that prompted a pretty quick response, which resulted in a few conversations with Mr. Browning. And then a meeting that I was not able to attend, Lacey did, with Mr. Browning, I think Mr. Carlton, and fire captain.
The fire captain and then the infrastructure captain.
Yeah. So here's where we stand on this. And in the letter, I put them on notice that, you know, as it stands right now, we're not going to issue any building permits. But after the meeting, again, I wasn't there, so I may be speaking out of turn, but there was some pushback from them trying to interpret our subdivision regulations in a way that I do not agree with. I think Mr. Browning's trying to argue that his is not even a subdivision, so none of our regulations apply.
So I looked back over the meeting, during the meeting, I can say that it wasn't a subdivision whatsoever. He wanted to say that the fire code was able to be interpreted. I went back and I looked at the minutes. The commission, I don't think it ever came to council. I can't find the minutes anywhere that it ever came to council in the same time frame. But in the planning commission minutes, it said absolutely it was considered a minor subdivision. I don't know how. It's 11 lots. Regardless, it still has to adhere to the exemptions listed, but it is exempt except for the road division. And that's kind of like where we're moving forward. Nothing except what Mr. Browning is saying that those are still.
And as it stands right now, the road does not meet Appendix D's requirements. The mayor and I talked about this yesterday, I think, or maybe earlier today. It's kind of up to you all on what you want to do. I mean, at some point we have to absolutely enforce what our regulations are. We haven't at times up until now. I don't know if this is the point in time where we do it and you all make a decision as a body for us to move forward. And
Yeah, I
Sure.
want to make a suggestion. So I feel like in my position coming into this was approved before me. I think Mr. Browning came to planning commission. Planning commission said, yes, go ahead. I think there was a lack of some clarity as to our own subdivision regulations based on this over 5 acre rule that we had, that if you're over 5 acres, you don't really have to comply with all the subdivision regulations, except for Appendix D. And Appendix D is where it talks about the roads. I'm not sure that he got adequate guidance on what that was. He has the 20-foot road. He is completely okay with making a 96-foot turnaround at the end to be compliant with fire code, to be able to turn around a fire truck at the end of that subdivision. This is a 20-foot road that's not curbed or guttered. So, you know, my concern is he's already had all of the utilities placed. If we go back now and say you have to, no matter what, you have to make this 26 feet, then he's going to have all of those utilities moved. I don't know that that's, personally, I don't know that that's fair. I wasn't there during all this process. I mean, I don't know. So I'm hesitant to say, you got to go back and do all these things. I think going forward, absolutely, we're going to be on top of it. We're not going to let this happen in the future. One of the reasons we're looking at adding it to 10 acres instead of 5, decreasing that number of like homes before it becomes a major subdivision, is because we don't want to end up in that situation where things just fall outside of those rules, and so people can do things that are not with what we anticipate for subdivision.
I did speak with Chief Carter, and Chief Carter said that he did not actually recall if there was any kind of a requirement set on the list. I do know that access roads outside of the DCD, which is for your major subdivision or another subdivision, is 26 feet. So I would ask that council gives him that leeway of 20-foot one. that road. Again, anything that's been said other than his word against what the code is, it doesn't add up. But because it's in the transition period, and I think he's done his due diligence to at least make it 20 feet wide, it's a gorgeous piece of property. He has agreed to put the cul-de-sac in at 96 feet wide, which is up to fire code for adequate turnaround for a huge apparatus. He also agreed if need be to put in a pullover, if you guys need that. But I think we're in this transition period where we're trying to make Goshen better based on our code. We're making our code better, and I think that this is one of those times that we just kind of give them the benefit of the doubt.
Should the fire chief say anything about is it meet his expectations?
Again, Anthony was the one that signed off. The chief was the one that signed off. Knox, I think, was the mayor when it was signed off on. So I'm sure that Mr. Brown had some conversation. Anthony could not recall the width of the road, but he definitely recalled that it needed to be that 96-foot turnaround. If there's an additional pullover that Mr. Browning needs to put in, he has agreed to do that. Like I said, this was just one of the transition periods, and Goshen being the community that we are, I think it's important to have that we don't put our house down and we transition into what we're becoming.
Let me make a couple of comments. That was when I was mayor. We had a subdivision task force that worked on this stuff for 2 years almost. And it was intentionally put in as the 5 acre minimum so that we could have a more rural type thing. Now, do we want to change it? Maybe we do. That's for another day. We're going to run into this 26-foot wide road business a lot more in the future. So if there's some way that we can work something that's over 750 feet, I think is when it's supposed to go. Say that?
Over 500 feet, it has to be 26 feet wide by fire code.
I don't believe that's
correct.
500 to 750 feet, anything over 750 feet is to the discretion of the fire department.
Not sure I'm following you. You're saying 500 to 750?
500 to 750 feet.
I think after 750 feet is when it goes to 26 feet wide. If you can show me something in writing that says otherwise, fine. But I believe that the limit is 750 feet. So maybe we need to have some kind of compromise where every 750 feet, there's a 26-foot wide pullout. I know it references fire hydrants for the 26-foot width.
I think our recommendation is we allow this to go forward with the 96-foot turnaround and 20 feet wide.
I'll make a motion.
Let me just say one more thing. If we're going to get into legal things over, not necessarily this one, but anything in the future, I think that we should have an engineer look at it and give a statement for the city.
That's actually what we're proposing. The new zoning regulations. That's what we're.
Preliminary plats are supposed to be turned in for approval by the planning commission. After preliminary plats are approved, then infrastructure is supposed to go in. After infrastructure goes in, it's supposed to be approved by and inspected by an engineer. All final plats are supposed to. The city is actually supposed to contract out an engineer to review those plats because if you don't have an engineer that's on staff to make sure that all of those plans are accurate and up to code like they're supposed to be.
And then stamp them subsequently?
Correct. Yep. And that hasn't happened. I don't think we have any that have been stamped by an engineer on final plats.
So I agree it would probably be in our interest to try to let this go forward when he fixes the thing. But in the time that we did this subdivision thing, we were really more interested in the weight of the apparatus and not so much focused on the width of the road. I guess that's why Anthony maybe remembered it the way he did.
It is, for clarification, 501 feet up to 750 is 26-foot wide road.
What's that? Why have the 750 in there then?
Because it says anything over 750 requires special approval.
Okay.
I will say that appendix D is optional. Appendix D does not have to be in the revision. Appendix D, as you guys only adopted the actually because the actually on fire prevention code, we only have to adopt appendix D by name. We did not do that. The only reason that we are even applying appendix D is because it's in the regulations, it's in the code. So if we don't adopt appendix D, we don't want to apply appendix D to situations, we don't have to. But it just so happens that right now that's where it is in the code. We can apply appendix D, which states it has to be 26 feet wide, wherever you want it to be. I'm just enforcing what's in the code.
But the recommendation is to allow this to go forward at 20 feet.
I'll make a motion to allow it to go forward.
Just one clarification.
With the turnaround.
Yes, with the 96 foot
Yeah,
turnaround.
no pullout.
Well, no, I mean,
I'm fine with
I've-
it. I just want to make sure that we're
that is
clear.
true, yeah. And I spoke to both Anthony and to Brad Vandenberg, and they're both comfortable with the 96 foot turnaround and 20 foot, entrance and exit. So.
I'll second.
So we have a motion and a second. Any other public comment? We vote. Do you know the Southern Baptist Church just to the east of the downtown Goshen area across from the park?
Okay, yeah.
So it's directly adjacent to that on the left-hand side on the north side of Highway
It's
45.
across the street from Watson Circle area.
Yes. There are 11 plats, and I think they're all up 5 to 7 acres, I think.
There's actually 12,
Parcels.
land parcels, thank you, or 12 of different lots. The 12th one, Mr. Browning was actually chosen not to develop. He is actually just thinking about using it for something in front of the subdivision.
Do we have one other comment?
Yes, just a bit, Max mentioned that this may be kind of more in the future. Do we have a list identified where problem areas that can be?
So that is part of what Lacey's been working with to come up with a new, that's part of two things. The Planning Commission Subcommittee, as well as Lacey, we've been looking at commercial real estate, zoning, subdivision regulations, ordinances, and have those all tied together so that we can make sure that there's more clarity and consistency throughout the ordinances, zoning regulations, and subdivision regulations for the city.
And notify those owners that try to get ahead of it.
Yeah. So, all right, any other public comment before we vote?
So, assuming this motion passes, this is null and void. You'll let the council know.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carried. All right, moving on to the next item on the agenda. Which I thought this was one of the ones we were moving, but it's not. Animal control ordinance. So I brought forward an animal control ordinance for you guys, which is an ordinance to adopt a policy on animal control. I did revise it based on the comments that were made by council and public. One of the comments was around the leash law, which that was changed to read that it's under the control of the owner. They don't have to necessarily be on a leash.
I think we might be able to order this. Is this 180, the second reading? Is this the?
No. Well, we've got two animal ordinances that were,
So there's the one that I requested that we go and read the first reading, which we did last month.
Right.
And I'm going to give you the revisions on it. Colton requested a different animal ordinance
so
to
is
be
that,
adopted as an emergency. And then there's the old, I think, ordinance that's in the packet that's there. So,
but I don't see, we don't have another essentially line item for, again, the ordinance that Colton brought plus, and then.
we do, I'll pull it up.
Okay, well, no, but I mean, I'm not seeing it, again, are we covering both of those in this discussion? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so this is all of the animal ordinances that you guys are wanting to discuss are in this section. Does that make sense? Okay. So
We understand.
it was requested that we change my understanding was you guys wanted changed the, animal, as far as, how the animal's under the owner's control. And it didn't, you guys did not want it to be on the leash all the time, as long as
Agreed.
it's under verbal control. So that was changed, and that was, page 8, here it is up here. There's section 4, any animal while on the street, sidewalk, public way, in park, public square, or other public space, private property without the consent of the owner shall be under the control of the owner, either by being secured by a leash or a chain of sufficient tensile strength, or by verbal control to restrain the animal. That takes care of that part. The other concern was on page 12, which was about, Max had a question about, well, how do we know what is the appropriate amount of space for livestock? So in looking that up, that's a very good question because there's no specific number that I can give that. And the reason is because, depending on topography, soil composition, there's all sorts of different ways to look at that. That's defined by the USDA. And they have a nice website that kind of goes through all of that. And I just included that as our resource for land management and grazing. Now, it's roughly 1 cow per acre. If you want to look at our area, that's roughly about what it is. And it's usually about 1 horse per acre and a half to 2 acres. And so that's kind of on horse, cow, and then they go into pigs and goats and sheep and all that. But that's the website. That's where I would refer to, because if it changes at that website. We refer our ordinance back to the USDA, and that's the leader on what pretty much everything agricultural, and that's all founded in research. Those are the only 2 things that I was asked to change. So that's what's been changed on animal control policy. The reason I think it's important for us to move forward with either reading and adopting this and waiving the 3rd reading, or us waiting and reading it again at another, council meeting, is that we have no mechanism in place at this time to police, enforce any of the ordinances, because we don't have any way to control, capture, isolate, contain any animal as the city. And at this time, if we call Washington County, they may or may not decide to come to our city and assist with the apprehension of an animal. I know, we haven't been able to get them to respond at all, so.
So Mayor, I recall those 2 changes and agree. The other thing we talked about was registering your animals. And I think there was even discussion about microchipping, which I said I would not register my golden retrievers. But
I think we took that out completely.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Yeah, I don't think that was a part of the actual, if it was, we will definitely take that out, but I don't think that was a part of this. That was a part of what we thought we might want to do, but it wasn't part of the actual policy.
Yeah, I'm just one of 6, but to me, I read this and I kind of think it's a little bit of overreach and addressing problems that we don't have. Maybe you'll have them in the future, but cows per acre. These terms I don't even know what they mean in here. It's restricting waterfowl. Is that right? Waterfowl in here. There's all of this came out just because Betty had a dog growl at her.
I'm going to push back a little bit and say that I have actually had several calls because of the horses at the Hisson farm.
Yep.
And so part of that this would address. So
and it may be.
And this is talking about waterfowl. If you live in a neighborhood and you have a neighbor that decides they're going to buy 5 geese, and those geese come over and poop all over your sidewalk, and they will, because that's why I got rid of mine.
5 become 30.
That's
very
right.
Quickly.
And then that becomes the problem. So I do think that this is needed, and I think that it may not have been a problem yet in your neighborhood or your neighbor or anywhere in the city yet, but I do think this addresses all of those things that will and could come forward as a problem and gives us a mechanism by which to address those.
What kind of response have you gotten to what was put on the website as far as the survey? Has anybody
No one that I know has submitted anything. We haven't gotten any feedback at the city. But I will say with the people that we've discussed the animal, control policy, they've all been in favor of us having an animal control policy. And they think it's a good idea to have this so that we can actually enforce it. So.
And the fees are steep.
I think the fees are reasonable considering what they are at Washington County. I think our fees are in line with all the other cities. And part of the reason that the fees are high is that you have somebody that lets their dog run around the neighborhood and it's $25 to pick up the dog. They're less likely to put that dog in a fence or to keep the dog from running around the neighborhood than if they have to spend $150 to come get their dog. And so, it's your job as a dog owner, animal owner, to be able to maintain your animals within their perimeter. If you can't do that, you either need to discuss whether you need an animal or how you're going to better keep that animal in its perimeter. I've had to chase the dogs away from my kids 3 times at the park here, and they are owned by people that live right here.
No, I don't think anybody disagrees with that.
And so I don't know any other way to discourage people from having their animals out running around than to penalize them for it. And that's my personal opinion. But I don't want a dog. I work in the ER and I've seen horrible disfigurement from dogs biting people in the face, and other places on the body. I would hate to see that happen to one of our citizens. Yes, there's some public comment.
Could you put the B section?
B.
Limited 100 feet. I don't know. There's more to it than that.
Where is it?
I don't know. There's a section on beekeeping.
Oh, beekeeping. Yes.
So as it's written, that's stricter than the city's health regulations. I've talked to a couple beekeepers. I proposed changing that to 25 feet if you have a fence and 100 feet if you don't. That's in line with the city of Fayetteville's urban agriculture.
Yes.
I mean, they have bees in the top of the library.
Okay.
I think that.
I have bees. I don't have any problem with it. I mean, my bees are very docile. I know that there are other types of bees that can be aggressive, but.
And I know that most of the HOAs where there might be other concerns with bees because of the density already have regulations.
They do, like Waterford has a bee policy.
I don't have any bees. I don't have any bees. I'm sorry.
I think you guys don't allow bees.
We don't.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah.
And then when there's the section in the livestock regarding manure, I interpret that as manure couldn't be kept on site. I know it's common practice for people to decompost and to that impact. I may state it that if it's determined to be a nuisance, I think determined to be a nuisance is very subjective. In terms of a neighbor could be spraying manure, another neighbor could say it smells when you move to the country. And I just think that that's a little bit of an overreach in the rural character of our community.
So if you will email me all of those recommendations, I will gladly bring that back at the third, because I do think it's nice to have a third reading and allow for more public comment, because this is important. I can make those changes if you guys agree.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've got a few things and I noted too, but
Yeah.
again, it's some of it's just detail stuff,
But that's what we want. We want
That's
you
what we
guys
want,
to email, we will change it, we'll bring it back, we'll reread it.
But to that end, as far as the ordinance ordinance regarding the removal of aggressive or uncontrolled pets, that's what Colton brought forward. I think that, that's something we could probably act on tonight.
Well, can we
The
not?
problem on acting on it, and I mean, we can read it, and I don't mind us acting on it. There's no way for us to enforce
Right,
it.
there's no way to enforce it. But
So would it make sense to read this in title only for the first reading with those changes that are submitted?
This is the second reading.
Second reading. Okay.
Then you'll make the changes and we'll do the third reading.
Yeah.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, so we have a
Second.
motion and a second to read in title only for the second reading. Roll call vote.
Paula Anderson. Yes. John Valencourt.
Yes.
Kurt Wright.
Yes.
Sean Mayfield.
Yes.
Max Coy.
Yes.
Colton Martin.
Yes.
An ordinance adopting an animal control ordinance by reference for the city of Goshen, Arkansas.
Then our second reading, please email all of those recommendations. We will put those in here. We'll bring those back to the next reading. And if I get other comments from the public, we will also include those. Any other questions? Yes,
Well, there wasn't a growl, there was a lunch.
Oh, I bet.
And the officer that came over to help me, asked,
Did you get your bear spray yet?
You asked about that 2 months ago. Where
I
is it?
know, I'm just staying away.
so the next item is gonna be the ordinance for the removal of aggressive or uncontrolled pets. This was the ordinance that I think, Councilman Martin requested to have drawn up.
Yeah, this one's pretty straightforward. I think we need to pass it as an emergency. My understanding is we don't have a way that if there's stray dogs running around, that the city's able to.
The city can't do anything about
They
a stray
can't do
dog at this
anything.
time.
So this would just open that up. So
No, we still can't do anything about a stray dog. We don't have any mechanism by which to address a stray animal at this time.
What about the training that was authorized last month?
We have not sent anybody to training because we don't have an ordinance yet.
So this is.
So until we
this
get
is
an
the
ordinance, they won't be trained. So even after we pass this ordinance, the animal control policy, they won't go to training until after that ordinance is passed.
So the goal of this was just to expedite it. This is an ordinance that says if you've got a dog on your yard that you don't want there, the city can come pick it up.
The city can't come pick up your dog.
Well, you're saying that you want an ordinance before they go to training, and you're saying you can't do this because they haven't gone to training. We're in a loop.
Yeah. So there's,
So
I think there's two things. One is we're gonna have to amend the budget. We're gonna have to get them to training. It's gonna take them a month to get through all the training steps. It's gonna take us time to be able to build a kennel. It's gonna take us time to be able to retrofit the Ford Explorer and get a kennel that fits in the Ford Explorer. Now, I'm not opposed to us just expediting getting them into training, but I don't think we can do that and have them finished before the next reading of the animal control policy. So I'm not opposed to passing this. I'm just saying I don't think that there's any way we can enforce this before we actually adopt the other ordinance.
And actually, the Ford Explorer is being used for several other functions right now that will require. You can't keep converting that same Ford Explorer to all these different functions if you're turning it into a dog's car.
again, this is just authorizing the city to be able to do what we're trying to accomplish and put us on a faster path to get it done. Because we get to the third reading and this doesn't pass. I don't know. I want to go ahead and put an ordinance in place to prevent children from being bit. It's pretty, do everything we can to prevent that from happening.
My concern is if we pass an ordinance and we don't have a mechanism in place and by which for the city to respond, then we are putting ourselves in jeopardy of having an ordinance that we can't follow.
So you're wanting to do the same thing next month and you'll be ready next month?
Yes, the animal control ordinance will go into effect if we have a third reading and it passes next month, it will be active.
So next month you'll be ready to take care of dogs.
Again, like I said, we still have to make sure we have an adequate holding facility and training for the staff.
Where am I getting wrong? I'll make a motion to approve, to waive rules, second, third reading, and read this ordinance by title only. Very simple. City's authorized to remove pets if they get the means to do it.
So right now, we call Washington County and hope they come.
And they don't usually come.
Well, there is an aggressive animal ordinance
There is,
now,
correct.
and we have used it over on Watson Circle at least once on a couple of dogs.
And that was the police that responded, I think.
I believe that's right.
Yep.
I'm just saying.
So what happened to the dog?
They were.
He moved them out of the city. There were 3 dogs, as I recall. Paula's folks live on.
One of them, I believe, was shot. And then the other ones were moved out of the city.
Disappeared.
And there was also a vicious animal as well, back when Joe Benson was mayor, that went through the appeal process and was declared to be not a vicious dog through the appeal process. So the process is there. During the time they relocated outside of the city limits, during the process from where it went, from whenever it was declared a vicious dog, the owners moved it to some relatives' homes outside of the city. Actually, I think it was Washington, out of the state. It was a service dog, or was a service type dog. I don't know if it was actually a licensed service dog or what have you. If this was 15 years ago, probably. So
Before you were born.
anyway, but it was moved out of the city for the time, from the time it was declared a vicious dog to the time that it went through the legal process and then was determined by city council appeal that the city council at that time deemed it not vicious, that under the circumstances that that dog had attacked another dog that was actually came onto the owner's property of the dog. But, if I recall. What are you talking about put in place though? This was using the vicious ordinance that's still in place. Implement
This new ordinance.
how would we implement this new ordinance?
Well, that's kind of my question, why I bring it up since we have one. Does this override that one? We don't need two,
No.
do we? I mean,
I think I'm gonna pull up ordinance 84.
This one is not just vicious dogs. If you've got a dog, and sometimes they're not vicious, but they don't need to be ordinances here. This one says if you've got a dog on your property and it doesn't, the city's authorized to. No, it doesn't activate. It's just if there's a pet in your property that you don't want there, it's gonna be nice, but
Max, I think I'm just giving this, and maybe that's what Colton said. Ordinance 84, it has to fit within the definition of a vicious dog.
Right.
This ordinance that Colton is bringing forward does not require that. It's just
if you've got a dog on your property,
it's not controlled by its owner. That would allow that dog to be removed from your property.
Yeah, because it's not always vicious dogs that are the problem around here. Some dogs haven't exhibited vicious behavior, but we know they need to go.
And again, I don't have staff to be able to address that at this time.
Well, I think
Colton, are you making the motion on the one that you wrote?
Yeah, he did. It's just waiting on a
Okay.
second.
Okay, I'll second it.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any other public comment before we vote?
My comment is, I have a little heartburn passing an ordinance that we can't enforce.
Well, it sounds like we're gonna do that.
But I think we can do it through the vicious animal. I mean, if you don't want the dog on your property, you don't want the dog on your property.
I'll jump in just because I think I hear what Colton's saying. Even next month, if you all bring this other ordinance back for a third reading and it passes, it cannot be enforced at that time.
Correct.
You're in the same position whether it's today or next month.
I am getting ready to address that with the budget. I can request, and I'll tell you what I'm about to request. I'm about to request that we authorize to spend for some of these things and get these guys trained before the end of next month. So that when we do pass this ordinance, we have training in place that they can actually accomplish carrying out the animal control policy.
And
at this time, they
At the
don't.
least, if we pass this one, the police can still.
That is not the police's job, and that's not what
Wait,
they're.
let me finish what I'm saying. The police can still go to the owner and tell them that their dog is X, Y,
authorization. So if the city can, they're authorized to do. So
But I would argue they can do that now.
only for a vicious dog.
only if it's vicious.
It's just like if someone's trespassing on their property. They can go say, you're not being mean, you're not trying to fight me, but I don't want you on my
I
property.
don't think that's accurate though. I don't think the city has a mechanism. I don't think they've got an ordinance in place right now. If a dog that you didn't want on your property is there and you call them, I don't think there's any, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think there's anything you could do.
Of course, we can send an officer over to let them know that they can call the dog owner. Again, even if we send someone, the problem now is we don't have any way to actually do anything about it. We can call Washington County and they're gonna say, sorry, it's in the city of Goshen.
Well, the citizen who has the dog on their property, especially if it's not a vicious dog, they can take the dog themselves to the animal shelter and surrender it. Say, hey, I tried to get hold of the owner wouldn't put it on my property. Here's their dog. He doesn't have to pay $150.
I mean, I guess I'm confused at this point because there's another ordinance that you're wanting to pass next month that'll accomplish this same thing. I don't understand where the gap is.
It doesn't accomplish the same thing. The other ordinance actually gives us a whole policy by which to address animals in the whole entirety of the city. And it gives us the actual mechanism by which that we have employees of the city that will get trained to be able to enforce that policy.
But we've already asked that they go ahead and get trained.
No, you have not. We haven't had authorization to amend the budget. We haven't had any authorization to spend any additional funds.
We're amending the budget.
Well, we will be tonight, hopefully.
Well, we need to add in whatever you need.
I've got that in the budget discussion that we will talk about.
Anyway, there's a motion and a second. I think the city ought to be able to pick up the dog.
All right, with the roll call vote.
Let me ask Brian one.
Yeah.
If we pass this ordinance, does it interfere or change anything with the ordinance on the third reading, the different ordinance?
I have to go back and look at the total comparison. I mean, it's not gonna impact that, but will this be
redundant?
Moved at that point? We'll find that out if this passes.
Brian, just to kind of the other note here, that Birch was making, is this putting the city in any obligation or any, again, what are the legalities as far as none there as far as
Politically, maybe, as
Right.
far as you all adopting something that
can't.
if the citizen calls and says, hey, we have this ordinance, sorry, in your interest, sorry, we can't do it. I mean, but legally speaking, there's no repercussions.
Yeah. Okay. So
We're gonna
roll
vote.
call vote.
Paula Anderson.
Betty's gonna get bit next month, and you're gonna feel pretty bad about it. With her garden, she's gonna get bit.
All right, roll call vote. Paula.
Paula. John Valancourt.
Yes.
Birch Wright.
No.
John Mayfield.
No.
Max Toy.
Oh, boy. Yes.
Colton Anderson. I mean, Colton Anderson. Look at me, I'm all screwed up now.
Yes.
Colton Martin, yes.
An ordinance regarding the removal of aggressive or uncontrolled pets.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Paula Anderson. Yes. John Valancourt.
Yes.
Birch Wright.
No.
John Mayfield.
No.
Max Boy.
Yes.
Colton Martin.
Yes.
If you want it to be
There's an emergency clause that you always need to vote on as well.
Motion to approve the emergency clause.
Second.
Paula Anderson. Yes. John Valancourt.
Yes.
Birch Wright.
So just to be clear, we're passing an emergency clause for a non-vicious animal.
To be able to remove pets. Yeah.
No.
John Mayfield.
No.
Max Boy.
No.
Colton Martin.
Yeah.
This will take effect in 90 days.
All right. Russell's got 90 days to get it together.
Well, hopefully we will have an animal control policy in 30 days.
And you'll
So-
still need to get it together.
Love democracy.
Now let's
That's all
move
we're doing.
on. Let's move on to something I feel like we can get done quickly.
Hey, you need me to come take a non-aggressive animal off?
I'll give you a call.
I'll be happy to. I'll bring my dogs to play with them.
I got a pit bull to my yard.
I love
We'll
pit
see
bulls.
how you-
This is tough.
All right, ordinance 181. This is going to be the second reading of ordinance 181.
Betty, we're gonna get this done.
Oh, no, we got their babies on, that way
And
you
this-
distance.
This was that we ended up changing the order in which we were allowing for public comments. So this was just the second reading.
Motion to read, second reading.
Second.
All right, so a
And
motion,
title only, yes.
motion and second to read in title only, ordinance 181. Any public comment before we roll call vote? Yes.
Can you summarize this, please?
So ordinance 181 is the way that the council organizes themselves as a body to conduct business. And one of the things that was changed was that there was discussion about public comment. We added an option for public comment at the beginning of the meeting for 2 minutes for any public comment, as well as at the end.
That allowed the public, not, if they wanted to speak, they wouldn't have to sit through the
And
whole.
wait.
Yeah.
All right. Roll call
Paula,
vote.
Paula Anderson,
Yes.
Sean Valancourt,
Yes.
Birch Wright,
Yes.
Sean Mayfield,
Yes.
Max Foy,
Yes.
Colton Martin.
Yes.
An ordinance amending ordinance number 181.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
No, this is just the
It's
second reading.
Just kidding.
Okay, so that's the second reading. We'll bring it back next month for a third reading. And now we can move on to next item on the agenda, the resolution to adopt record retention policy. And I think Kashana is going to present on that. Let me pull it up.
So I made the request to change to move the digital video and digital recordings from 3 years to permanent. So that's been done. I'd also like to go ahead and move the payroll method from 4 years to 7 years.
Call one good tonight. Make sure that it was never deleted. So
Just because.
It's been up there a few days.
What's the minimum requirement?
4
That is part of the payroll record, 7 years.
is 7.
Yeah.
Motion to read in title only. Well, this is administrative policy, right? Do we have to-
There's a resolution.
That goes with the policy. Okay.
Yeah, this is the policy here, and then I can pull up the resolution.
Motion to read title only.
Seconds.
Voice vote.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries.
Resolution adopting administrative policy governing the retention and destruction of records of the city of Goshen.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
So the motion and a second to adopt. Any public comment before we vote? All right, all those in favor?
Dan, I had something.
I think Dana had a comment.
Public comment.
Dana, do you have a comment?
Excuse me.
What about the art?
They're kept in perpetuity.
I'm sorry.
They're kept forever. That was the part of the change.
Are there consequences in the policy for improper destruction of records, or is that an employee handbook? Because there are records from 2 years ago we don't have.
But I don't think those records ever, I don't know if they ever existed. Did they?
Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Did the,
That's why I was thinking only audio from January 2023 onward is considered permanent.
The consequences would come if there was an FOI request that we were unable to fulfill because we violated our own policy.
What for the employees that were.
We would have to, that would be under the employee handbook of violation.
but
Yeah,
you're saying
so personnel handbook.
the FOIA, okay, for the recording is not available.
Oh, what I'm saying is, just looking into the history of numerous of the United States, there was like no records from 2019 aside from the minutes, which were very vague. And so I was curious about where those records went. And I know Dan inquired about the same thing. Those weren't FOIA requests, they were, FOIA.
But
So I'm just making sure that should that happen in the future, what are the consequences for the employee? That's my question.
Me
No,
personally.
I understand that. That's why I'm trying to just make sure that. And Dana, you FOIA?
I do have.
Well, they just didn't exist. We gave everything that we have, but there's stuff that there was, there's no audio recording.
Thumb drives from those meetings, so that meeting does not exist.
Correct.
But if they do turn up, you wouldn't want to,
No.
you wouldn't want to delete them.
No,
Oh,
no.
There's anything that's in the safe that's recorded right now will remain in the safe.
Right.
Yeah.
On the
There was some records from when the members decided that we went with this vote. And it was not.
They weren't there. There were budget documents that were completely
They're
deleted.
probably advantage of sharing.
No, this was deleted. And we were not able to recover. There were some records we were able to recover through our IT department, but there were some records that were permanently deleted that we could not recover, that we knew were there.
Thumb drive.
No, there were documents that were not present in my administration that had been there previously. So I don't know where they are. I can't state how they disappeared. I can tell you they're not there now.
If you could get in touch with, oh, who's our recorder then? Sharon? Was it Sharon, when that happened?
Probably. Probably.
She'd probably have a copy. Just throwing that out there.
Sharon.
It's a separate, but
Chairman,
Baggett, is her name.
Yeah, and that's what I said, probably at her house.
so we have right now a motion and a second,
To adopt.
and we need to adopt if we're gonna adopt this. So are we ready to make a vote?
I think we
All
have
right.
a vote.
So, yep, we're ready to vote.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Resolution has been adopted. So let's move on to the fire patrol. I think at this time it's the business license because we already did the community building use. Correct?
Me again.
So Lacey's up for the building business
So-
licenses.
Last month, I brought to you guys, a pretty hefty business application, regarding a bunch of information. I will state that there are certain things that building businesses need to turn in, you guys are not requesting. In the event of an emergency, so we have a tornado, knock on wood, that comes through here and wipes out our businesses, certain, contractors went through building. The city's the only one who has those, so without having to go through the health department and things that may not be available, the city is another source of health department inspection for restaurants, business license, contractor's license, insurances, things like that. But I made it smaller, you have it in front of you. I also changed, one of the exemptions to farms and agriculture businesses. And then for your request, we changed the fee from $50 to $25 and removed any, first time registration fees. So any business that registers for the first time in Goshen, regardless of what it is a free expense, and they're not, business licenses are renewable until the following January.
So nobody paid for business license on their
First
first
year.
application for a year, and then it's $25 a year after that, $50 fine if they don't pay within the time frame.
I did speak to some business owners, emailed some people, texted people, what have you, to see what their opinion was. And they are failing to see any benefit for their own businesses, by this, and just seeing another layer of government that they have to comply with.
So one
What
of
type
the,
of businesses?
Well, I talked to this guy, Albert.
LLCs
I
or?
talked to LLC, agriculture, excavation.
agriculture is
I
excluded.
know agriculture is excluded now, excavation, architecture, and again, agriculture is excluded, but there are some agricultural entities that would still, I don't know if they'd possibly be
We
businesses.
excluded all agricultural and farm
But
businesses,
again,
which is a big exclusion, but we felt like that was the right thing.
To answer your question, you said that you work with excavating company. Is excavating company not a contractor or a contractor?
again,
So that excavating company doesn't want to get a business license and turn in, the required documents to say, hey, look, I'm a legitimate business, I have liability insurance, I have a license. And yet they're doing business, maybe not within the city, like within Goshen, but then they're going to another job outside of Goshen. And somebody's like, hey, I need a business license. They go, oh, my business is located in Goshen, so I don't have to have a business license. Who's to say that that person isn't providing general liability, who's to say that person ends up providing a license and they're doing unlicensed and uninsured work. It's just another step to ensure the health and safety of the citizens of Northwest Arkansas, Goshen.
I would also
Or
say
any
that
customer that they're using.
we get audits from the state requesting information about businesses within Goshen. We don't have a mechanism by which to really give them information other than the businesses we know.
Yeah, they're
And that's really just the ones,
the corner,
yeah, the ones that we can see. So,
Again, that's just my opinion. That's the opinion of the businesses that I contacted. So I'll leave it at that.
Is there a specific issue, I mean, put this into practice, is there a specific issue that you can think of that this would have mitigated, solved, made better?
I guess I don't fully understand your question. What is the pro of getting a business license?
No, I wanna know if we put this into place, something that's happened in the past, is there anything that, an example that you can give that this ordinance would have, made better? I don't know.
Can you tell me when the last time the bunch of health inspection? Just throw it out.
I mean, that's all Washington County. Yeah, you can, Washington County records all that. You can go through and see full records of all of that. It's not something that Goshen conducts.
It's not, but it's actually something that Goshen the paper and retain records of.
But if we did retain and we did have, does that actually help anything? I don't see the benefit of it. I don't think us having and knowing, I think.
And then again, it's
That's just
also
my
if somebody is selling product, and they're not filing sales tax correctly,
I
we
mean,
ask for a sales tax number as well.
If they're great, but specific scenarios. And if there are some, that's great, but I'm looking for like the specific scenarios.
I personally can give you any, because we haven't
never had a business license.
I can tell you that we've had companies who have moved into Goshen, or into our planning area, call and ask for business licenses. Hey, we were told that we needed to provide a business license to our insurance. I know that having a business license, it can lower your insurance. Being a part of a commerce can lower your insurance as a business. So I think that there's pros of moving in this direction. Obviously, I think that as a business owner, it's $25.
Yeah.
It's $25.
Well, I'm just 1 out of 6, but I mean, if you came back and you gave any specific example and you said, if we had this, it would have solved this problem, then I'd probably vote for it, but I don't see it right now.
But as the city grows,
I'll make a motion.
hopefully it's gonna grow.
I'll make a motion to table, the business license.
I'm gonna call the question. I think we need to vote on it. We need to move on. We've already tabled this once. So at this time, I call the question to vote.
So you want us to vote against it, or something?
I want us to take a decisive decision of whether or not we want to have a business license in the city as a council. And I think we need to vote on it. So I call the question.
No. I'll vote no.
Roll call.
Paula Anderson? No. John Valancourt?
No.
Birch Wright?
Keep the habits right. Yes.
Rod Mayfield?
No.
Max Poy?
No.
Colton Martin?
No.
Okay. So we'll move on. We're not gonna bring this back
Call it
again.
question. I want to make sure everyone's on record. Yes or no? Gotcha.
All right, we're gonna move on to new city business, 2024 budget amendment proposal. So we, the finance committee gathered and convened and looked at our budget. And, let me get over to new business. All right, let's do general fund to start with.
Okay, before you get into the total budget, I am curious.
Yes.
You were, you were asking for, I don't have it right in front of me.
It's on the screen. What page would you like to look at?
The community, the city hall increase for.
Here, is this what you're talking about, the renovation?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, so
So there are,
what we have, okay, because this has been an ongoing thing, and I think that we spent way too much money on City Hall, okay? Last year, you went over budget by 10 grand and spent $40,000 on reservation on City Hall. Okay, then we came back and we got another 35, let's see, that's
70, 35,000.
35,000. Now you want us to raise that to 70,000.
Correct.
Okay. $110,000 to renovate City Hall.
Yes. And let me explain.
Let me finish, okay? And a lot of the things that were done, okay, were done with a champagne taste on a beer income. Everything that was in there, okay, all custom made cabinets. Now, custom made credenzas and everything else. And then we put the most expensive tops on the desk and on the countertops in City Hall.
What was the cost of the grant?
So
We don't have a breakdown.
we can pull it up and look at it. I think the total cost of the grant was, for everything in City Hall, was around 5 to 7, and we got a discount on that because it was granite that was ordered, and the person that ordered it didn't pick it up, so we got all that granite.
I'm
and a
talking
discount.
about the
8,700 for all the granite.
Per counter.
I'm just gonna push back, and I'm gonna say, when you come into a city and the city hall that we had was in the condition that it was in, it had been there since, I think, since it was built in the 1980s, and nothing had really been changed. We had an area in the back where there was literally pipe sticking out of the wall, where there were cabinets that got water damage from an old sink, and they just pulled the cabinets out, left the wall with the pipe sticking out, and a non-functional stove, an old refrigerator. I think we've done a great job with the money that we've utilized, not to mention the fact that our finance committee has put $600,000 into CDs. We've done a lot of work ourselves to be able to keep us at a lower budget than what we could have been at if we'd have had a lot of this other custom work done. So yes, we did spend a little extra money on custom made cabinets and custom made desks because the ones we had were, I feel like, not adequate and not able to be compliant with some of the regulations about how we keep our records. Records have to be under 3 locks.
I'm not saying that it didn't need an updating, okay? I'm not saying that. But some of the things that were purchased, okay, didn't have to be at the level that they were. That's what I'm saying, okay? And what happened with the desk that were ordered and you didn't use? Have they been sent back?
No, the police department have those in their office and they're using those. So they didn't have desks before, and they had desks that had been there since the 1960s and 70s. There's one that's in our shop right now that we can look at if you'd like. But I'm going to push back and say I disagree. I think that we have done the best that we can with the money that we've been authorized to spend. Yes, there have been overages, but I would tell you that I think in any construction field right now, there are cost overages that are not realized until you get into the project. And I'm just going to say it. I have saved the city $8,000 in dirt work, excavation work, sewer work, where my hands are down there digging out the sewer, because I can do that and save that money and allow us to have nicer things in City Hall. And if any of the public want to make comments about this, I would really appreciate it, because I think the public wants to see our City Hall improved and our infrastructure improved. and for us to come in on target, on budget, and get all the things that need to be done with the money that the citizens are paying in taxes. So I'm just gonna disagree. I think that we need
You
to
can
improve our
disagree. That is my opinion, and I wanted to make my opinion known. And I know that there's other people that feel the same way on some of the issues. Okay?
I appreciate your opinion.
I mean, you know, costs are significant increase. For me, it's more about whenever we put up lights and we want to adjust those minimal costs to do so. The answer has been, oh, we don't have the money to do it. But here I'm saying we've got the money to make changes. It's just these changes are only coming from administration, your decisions. The lights are a priority for me. I know I would love to see those adjusted, but the answer is that we're not changing those.
That's incorrect. I've spoken with Ozarks Electric, and Ozarks Electric said that they don't offer any other light fixture that they can put on that pole.
Again,
So, and I thought that you had said that you were gonna reach out to Ozarks Electric and have them adjusted.
and you know, they say they will, so we'll
And
see.
they say, they told
But-
us the same thing, but they
but-
haven't.
and
I can't force them to come out and do that.
we can turn them off and we can put our own lights with switches on, which is what's needed because that area was used for stargazers.
And that is right here on my next discussion about budget. I have a budget report looking forward, and that's one of the things included is community building lights.
I appreciate it.
So,
But
because
that's my hang up. That's the only thing is I see all these increases that are kind of, I don't know where the priorities are coming from. I don't know, because the council set the budget and then all of a sudden we're seeing significant increases in different areas that the
4
council
months
has
in.
not really discussed. So that's just my input.
Yeah. Some of the cost overrun that we experienced because asking you to share, not knowing what you're doing. And there was many reasons for lowering some of the elevation involved. We found there was some leaks involved that it was pipe.
electrical that was improperly installed to begin with, that had to be completely redone. You know, plumbing that we're finding that wasn't done appropriately. So
I
these are
understand,
all
but-
things we don't know.
But the thing is that we never had any notice or any mention during that time.
There's a lot of problems that has to do with not just the purchase of desk and countertop, and those things were bought at discount prices, where we didn't go out and spend market value for those things. Those things were bought because they were either left of remnant or someone had ordered them and they got discounts up to 50% off on those things. I don't know if they did it themselves, but the floor was a big issue. When they were ripping out the old floor, things had to be jackhammers, not just stripped off. So there were some significant cost overruns. To be quite honest with you, we put the budget out there, 35, not knowing what we're gonna get into. At that point, we started looking at, amending the budget where we could save money in other areas to reinforce those codes. If you go through the entire budget situation, this was the only cost that we had. Everything else there has been either right on or they have decreased in cost. That's the only entire area where there has been a significant cost overrun. Everything else that has been budgeted for has been either right on or below.
So I think it's important to note, and I think everyone knows this, but a budget is a planning document.
Exactly.
and you have to adjust the budget as you go. I don't disagree. There's some unforeseen costs. There's inflation. There's cost of doing business. So I think what's important is look at your expenses, look at your revenue, and see your bottom line. And if the council feels that we need to set a percentage of overrun that needs to come to the council, then that's something we can discuss. But the bottom line is we're under budget for the year.
Yeah, how would
Period.
that work first? What percentage of overrun, how would that work?
Well, I mean, as an example, if we want to say anything that's over 30% of budget or 15% of budget to bring it back for discussion.
That's
obviously-
partly why we're here, is because we know we're not gonna be able to, if we go forward with the rest of the things that we need to do at the city hall, we're not gonna be able to do it with the budget that we have. You know, the municipal league allows for 20% over budget without being penalized. But we don't even want to go that far. I would have not liked to come in here and ask for more money. I like to come in under budget. That's my goal. And in most categories, we will. But
you also can't be deficit at the end of the year.
exactly, no, we definitely won't be
Okay.
deficit. I have no concern about being in a deficit. You know, we're going to come in under budget for the whole. I can guarantee you that. But as far as an overrun in one area, you're right. There's going to be times where we have an overage. And I think we've done, you know, I think our finance committee and myself, I think we have done an excellent job at being conservative and making sure that we're within budget and getting things accomplished in a timely manner. And
And the overall thing is that the complete ownership that the city hall, which is an infrastructure improvement, that reflects on the city, not money that has been found down the rat hole. This is money that's actually gone into a city office that is functional. To be honest, that is not complete because it acts not just as a city hall, but it acts as a police department. And there was additional things that had to be done to secure and harden their facility because it is a police department. And it's still not completed with having sensors, recording devices, where you know who's coming and going, who's carrying our code, security cameras, documentation of where weapons are stored, ammunition is stored. We still don't have those things in place that most people have. Is a dual function building, not just your city hall. It is all police department also. It is our administrative office. So every dollar that we have gone over in city hall has been reallocated from other sources that we pulled it back down and literally has not been made. And that's why we moved to 9% to lay that out there.
And I want to talk about where we are as a whole with the budget and what we've realized since the beginning of my administration, where we are now, and where we are with other large chunks of money that have been allocated and that weren't even realized for some time because it wasn't included in the budget in the past. And it is now. And we have a functional budget where we have all of those restricted funds and allocated funds that weren't realized in the past and weren't listed on the budget in our budget document. And it's clear. We've got it on our website. You know, I can't be more transparent than to say these are the exact things we're spending money on. We've taken into account Colton's request for lighting at the community building. We've put that in here as one of those options, and I'll talk about that if you allow me. Let's talk about what we'd like to do with the budget, where we'd like to go with it.
I'd love to hear about that.
One quick question if I can. From a capital standpoint, I know this is line item revenue and expense. Have we built in depreciation?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And what you're talking about with the added expense of granite and custom-made cabinets adds significant capital to our building. It's not for us, it's for the city. It's for city use, but it adds value to that building. Significant value. Yes, John?
I just want to say that driving by City Hall is wonderful. I feel very responsible to it. Being inside is welcoming. It's brought us up to bounds. I worked at a real estate company, 5 children. 17 years I was there. The owner never did anything. I've been 5 years I've been part of the we have this building. Sure, part of the best, but that it's brought great income. It feels good to work.
Love you too. Like it's been great for the.
I really like the way the city office works, and we do everything. The police department was probably in our court in that for a long time. They have to appreciate what we've done in the space given. I understand this one is that, you know, over time. And even this budget, it looks so much better than it has. So, you know, it was renovations that needed to be done and it's being done now.
I think you get better for it, get better production.
Traveling like crazy, people that were here. Somebody wanted to rent the place for something about corn, something or other thing. You think we're going to this cornhole or something?
Cornhole.
But anyway, you know what it is. Huh?
Cornhole. Yeah.
But anyway, they really appreciated everything, the freshness about the pavilion and everything.
Well, I can personally tell you that it comes at a cost.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that as a fiscal cost. The amount of hours that I spend coordinating with contractors and making sure that they're doing their job and following up and picking out items and picking out flooring and picking out and going and loading it in my truck and bringing it here and unloading it. I appreciate your concern, John. I do. And I let me finish. I appreciate your concern. I understand where you're coming from. I'm a very fiscally conservative person, and I would not go out and just blow the citizens' money if I didn't think it was an investment for our future, and it brought our city to a standard and a level that I feel like everybody wants. I'm going to go ahead and read the budget report looking forward so that we can talk a little bit about where we want this to go.
Okay. I just have one comment on what you just said. I understand all of it. What I'm trying to say is, you know, we have never been told as we went up that, except for at the end of the year, that we went over budget by 900.
That's why we're here now. That's why we're bringing this to you as the council, so we can talk about
And
this.
that's why.
Wait, one other public comment?
Yes. The point that I'm using is because we're going to be starting right now. And had a car attack, and I saw the stuff, how high it's getting, everything's just gone out of sight. So to get stuff done in budget, that's amazing.
Thank you. And I've got something on this side. I lived here for over 35 years. And I remember the first time I went in to see Mr. Bowen, I thought it was kind of a joke. I'm so proud of that city hall now. I mean, what I've seen in 35 years, the changes in the last few years have just been exceptional. I'm just so proud of it.
Thank you. So I'm going to read this. So in looking at the numbers for 2024, we are projecting a minimum total revenue, and this is conservatively, of $1,564,733. This includes the restricted funds that were allocated by the City Council for engineering fees and grant match fees that were previously not well represented on the budgets. Taking those fees into account and as not previously realized, we have adjusted the budget to cover these fees as well as all capital improvement projects that are underway and have had some cost overages. The adjustments we have prepared in the proposed budget will cover all expenses and are set to incur this year and should leave us with a residual excess of approximately $55,000 to $65,000 conservatively, after releasing the restricted funds that were placed in the budget to cover these prior allocations. So we would like to seek approval for the adjustments in our capital projects tonight to bring back a further proposed adjusted budget for the June meeting for council approval. There are many allocations that we know we are anticipating that will require an increase in budget line items, such as the future training of our facility management employees to become trained and certified as animal control officers, additional training to the safe and appropriate operations of our new bucket truck, installation of kennels at City Hall, purchasing a transportable dog animal kennel, retrofitting of the Ford Explorer, purchasing additional equipment for capturing of animals, additional costs associated with our latest updates to the police camera system, potential capital expenses for several items. And I've listed these items for you guys to decide how you would like to spend that additional money. And that is a security system, police governor on the vehicles, which you guys had approved, but we have to talk about the costs, additional training for staff, animal control operations, preparation, incinerator for the police department, vehicle lift for the shop, additional lighting around the community building, which was brought by Colton Martin, electrical service for food truck vendors at the community building, which could potentially generate some revenue, provision for water and electric service across the south entrance of the park to the interior of the park, additional ammo for the PD, additional shed storage for city equipment and vehicles. So those are just some of the things that, you know, we anticipate we could utilize some of that excess funds to bring forward. And if you're looking at the budget and you're confused, it's probably because there's several things that you're not going to understand until I explain.
And just a comment, Colton Martin did not want additional lighting around the community building, replacement of lighting.
I think so, one of the things, citizens that we have to plan, that I really so we're making it account, not just, the council, people talking about citizens would like to see going forward.
Yeah.
So these things are kind of not just the council, but some input we're getting from the city citizens about them being like, this is not all in one budget here. This is we're looking at a budget that expands, 2 or 3 cycles.
Yep.
And see if we can play. So it's not just that budget that's based on 1 year budget, it's not just 25 or 6. We're actually already looking at 25 budget going forward.
Correct. And so I want to go to this section of the budget under revenue. So we had a total excess of funds from last year of $164,159.53. That means we came in under budget by $164,000. Okay, just so everybody's clear. Now, 63 of that is allocated, so it's a restricted fund for a grant match. Then there were the engineering fees that weren't shown anywhere in the budget for 2023 because they weren't realized, because we thought those were in the engineering fees, but they weren't. That subtracted from the amount that we've already spent in engineering fees equaled $41,026.43. Okay, now out of that $41,026.43, 15 of that will be paid by HUD, because part of the engineering that was designed for that project was from HUD, and it can come out of the actual HUD funds, and it's already been put into the budget for HUD. So that's 15,000 there. And what we had done was we looked at under that area for engineering fees. We have to show that somewhere down here in the budget that we're spending the money. So what we did was we added $57,000 as engineering fees, but that's not really. If you take that 57 and deduct it from what we've already put and deducted it on the top part to 41, that's where we end up with that $55,000 to $65,000 of excess revenue. So it's not shown, but it's there.
We had to actually put the 57,000 in the budget that was never there the first time. Even though the money had been allocated for it previously, it just was not in our budget that we had moving forward. So we actually allocated the money, the revenue, which we didn't have in there. But when we presented this budget at the beginning, that wasn't
there.
Was set into the money.
So we wanted to show that we could get all of this stuff done, even though there was money that was allocated by council that was never shown or represented in the budget. Does that make sense?
You have to realize the expense.
Yeah, it's exactly right. And so that will come back out and we'll pull that forward. So
expenditure.
No.
It's just it was never shown as being spent. And
Correct.
It will be spent and the money is there to be spent.
So if you look at this number down here, coming in 527 under budget, that's actually closer to $65,000 under budget. Once that's all added back in.
That's correct.
So if we're looking at this budget, we're $65,000 under budget. And what we're saying is, we would like to get the approved, and that's with all those capital improvement additions that we've asked for. But what we would like is to have the approval to go ahead and finish those capital improvement projects that we need to complete. City Hall with the overage, community building with some small overage, and then with the additional $55,000 to $65,000 of additional revenue that we're going to have, we would like for us to focus on these things of potential, expenditure that you guys would choose which ones you'd like to have done. Whether it is that we improve the security system at City Hall, which would mean we've already put in the budget for the cameras, which is an additional $7,000 for cameras, but we don't have any access control at City Hall. So there's no record of access control. Police department doesn't have any record of access control to their, security locker for evidence. So we would like to add that, and that is an additional $20,000. That drops us down to about $35,000 to $40,000 of additional revenue. But we have all of these other things too. With the governors for the vehicles, that's about $3,000 to $4,000. Additional staff training is going to be another $3,000 to $6,000. All the animal control operations and prep with the kennel, and the building of or the retrofitting and getting a isolated kennel to go in the back of the Ford Explorer is going to be anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 just for that. And then building kennels at City Hall, I don't have a bid on it, but I anticipate it's going to be between $3,000 and $5,000 for that. I think it'd be more. Well, we're only going to do small set of maybe 4 kennels. I think we can get done for $3,000 or $4,000. But it may. You're right. There may be
The stainless will surprise you, I think.
That's not coming more.
I know.
It does end up being more money.
But we want you guys to prioritize some of those things for us so that we know where you want that money spent. And so, additional lighting around community building. I don't have a bid on it. Replacement. I'm sorry?
Replace these lights that are here.
I can call and have them turned off for Mozart's Electric. The concern is that citizens won't be able to see to get to their vehicles.
No, we need good parking lot lighting.
And
that's on a switch.
And I will tell you, that's going to be expensive. So that's not going to be a cheap thing because you have to run lines, pour concrete, get those fixtures, and those fixtures are expensive. I don't mind doing it. I'm saying it's totally appropriate. I understand, but those are more expensive items. So, and if that's what you guys choose, that's what we will focus on. What I would like is to send this document to you guys. Let you guys email us back with the things that you have that are the highest priority. And then we build those into the budget and bring it back next month for you guys to approve.
The one thing I have a question on the budget is the Elkins District Court. I just think we need a little more clarification on what those expenses are going to be in the future because, from what we show year to date compared to what you guys want to do for budget, that's again, double the amount there for expenses. And so that one gives me a little bit of pause.
Yeah, average is around 10,000 a quarter, so we do need to bump that up closer.
But I mean, even then, I'm just wondering why our year to date is already 22,000 if 10,000 is the average per quarter. What's going on?
2023 was just under 9, and then the first quarter of 2024 was just over 12. So it just fluctuates.
Right, but still, again, it's just.
Usually, what we try to do, and looking at what we put this together for you guys, because you're not going to get an annual budget, okay? You're going to get a budget that's going to be in here. We're going to be in here 2 or 3 times a year looking at this. You won't be waiting until the end of the year and go, oh, we haven't seen this for a whole year. We're going to be bringing it to you when you have significant movement. We're going to be bringing it right back to you when you're in the transparent.
I guess.
So what we're looking at when we did that is that when we have a meeting, I went 4 months is really not enough data to get and do an annualized assumption on.
I can try, I will contact Elton again and see if they can give me a breakdown of where these numbers actually come from.
Right, just because if
Based
if
on
we go,
how many court
right.
cases and how many tickets, I'm not for sure.
And I mean, part of that may be that we actually do need to budget more if our
Exactly.
officers are
So what
doing
we're gonna
more.
look at
So, you know, again,
in June, we'll have to pay, and hopefully we'll have to.
but I mean, you know, I just want a little more specifics on that so that we can better plan, because 22,000 is heck of a lot different, you know, for a quarter than 10,000.
And that's what we're here.
Yeah,
That's
so
exactly the reason why.
22 is,
20, the Q4 2023 and Q1 2024.
It's always most important.
right, but I thought you just said that it was 9,000 for the last quarter of.
But you don't pay it until the next year.
She's talking about 9,000 in the last quarter of last year, which is paid in 2024.
Right. But then you've already also included this quarter too?
Correct, which is basically half
So-
of the year.
So,
So you're really close.
The first quarter.
So that's,
all right, so again, you know, it's just kind of clarification there on what's actually happening.
And that
You
is,
know,
Just one other thing, two things you need to understand. The budget is based on a cash analysis, okay, because that's what revenue is recognized. But when we get billing, it's based on accrual. So some of the things you're seeing that we're paying happen in another period. And so we're seeing that deal, but when we're putting the budget together, we're
Yeah.
looking at a calendar year.
yeah, and I
So
do,
there's always gonna be some slight adjustments.
and I do understand that. It's just, again, whenever we don't have that information,
Well,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
exactly why we're here to give you that information. And but we won't be getting better assumptions until we have at least 5 or 6 months. That way we can start making some annualized projections of where we are.
so, and to address some of the overages on the city hall, we realized what the cost of the cabinets were gonna be. That was already planned. But things that we didn't realize, there is significant electrical work that has to be done because we have stuff that's not done to code, but we're maintaining code for the rest of the city on our inspections. But yet, there was stuff that was literally extension cord ran through, you know, the exterior wall to an outlet. And, you know, you have an electrician come in and put a new fixture in and find out that it's not in conduit, it's not in, you know, the junction box the way it's supposed to be. It has to be redone. So those are like unrealized expenses that we wouldn't have known until we get there. It's the same thing with our septic system. So there were things there that just, you know, it could have been done a lot better, and it just wasn't. This isn't place and blame. We're just trying to make sure that what we are doing now fits within all the code and that we bring it up to standard. And so the things that are left at City Hall to be done, we have windows that just came in that were back ordered, more expensive than we thought. And then we're also going to put a bulletproof lining on the windows so that we do have some protection.
bullet resistant.
Bullet resistant, yeah. Not bulletproof, bullet resistant. And really what that does is it gives anybody in the office, if someone's outside shooting in, the time to get out of there and into another part of the building to get away. And so that's what we're trying to do versus ordering windows that are bulletproof that are literally about 50 times more expensive. Okay?
Like the one between the lobby and the office.
Well,
So-
I mean, we spent $15,000 on a wall that was between the office and the lobby, but yet we had windows all the way around the building. You had no protection. And if you wanted to crawl over the top of the, you know, the false ceiling, you could drop back down in the office suite with the people, and it didn't provide it protection. So when I look at spending money, I look at, well, what is the most cost-effective, safe way to do that and still be responsible to the citizens that are paying their taxes? And that's what I'm trying to do. And when I save money by doing work myself, it's so that we can provide for these employees to have a better work life and have those things there that make their life better. And I feel like it makes them more productive. I can't ask for more out of people than what these two and Jerry working for free have accomplished with the finance committee and all the office work and the planning and the zoning. And I mean, it's tremendous. And that brings us to this new employee. We've got a part-time employee that's hired, and we already have another full-time position. And so we're going to continue to look at where we are within the budget, because if there's any way we can move that to full-time by the end of the year, I would like to, because we're going to need that much work. You know, administering these grants takes an inordinate amount of time. All of the documentation you have to file, all the deadlines have to be met, and then the applications for more grants. Those also take time and money. So,
I just want to make a general comment.
Yeah.
Me personally, I think it's safety and security of staff. I think it's training of staff, and then whatever capital is left over after that. Capital could be a line item. It could come off the budget. Capital is what you hope to do, but don't have to do.
Exactly.
So, and I'm happy for you to send that out, and we can prioritize. I think to maybe put a bow on this, and I hear your concerns, John, and Colton, I hear your concerns. Potentially, is there a way? This is an ask. I don't want to micromanage the budget. I think we as city council approve the budget ebbs and flows. If there's an X amount of percentage over X amount of dollars, if we want to know that as city council, I think we can ask for that. But to micromanage, well, you're $40,000 in Elkins fines and you only budget 38. I'm not picking on you, Paul,
Well,
but
no.
just as an example.
I was concerned because, if I see the 22,000 for the first 4 months, then that means that for the next 8
But
months.
that's actually for 6
But
months.
what I heard was
But
6
actually,
That's a great question. That's my
But yeah,
point.
that's
That's
the
my
question
point.
though, that's a concern if we're spending,
But that's my point.
Yeah.
So if we want to set a number and if it's a percentage over a certain amount of dollars, then we understand what that means. But to sit here every month and question $5,000 is a little, I think, micromanaging what we're been asked to do.
Well, this isn't 5,000.
I'm just
This
making an
is-
example.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying, and I like the idea too of setting a percentage.
And that is why we're here. I don't like going over. I know we were over on City Hall repairs, and I wanted to bring it to you guys. We can.
This is as transparent as you can be. I mean, could have, and I understand the concern of specifically one line item, probably from what I saw.
Right.
I think it's explained.
So, and Kashana is aware that we both are uncomfortable with spending without amending. And I don't think we have to amend the entire budget. I think the only thing we would like approval for tonight is for us to proceed with the capital improvements on the community building and City Hall, because we know that we're going to be over on those. And I don't want to proceed if we're going over and we're not at least having that approved. Everything else we can bring back at next meeting, and we can talk about all of the specifics of where we want to plug in this additional $55,000 to $60,000. But I think for us right now, I'm concerned. I've got a contractor that's waiting to put windows in, and I don't want to tell him yes until I know that we have the approval to go ahead and spend that.
So bottom line, what's the request, Mayor? How much?
My request is for us to, approve the 70,000 for the finish the remodel of City Hall, for the repairs and remodel, and for the community building, it's $50,000 for the renovations. We had 40. The 50 gets us the handicap ramp.
So it's 120 add total.
No, because it's 35 plus
It's already
10,
got 35
so
budget
it's 45,000
for both. I mean,
Yeah, for both.
It's a one-time thing. Even
Yeah.
something that's going to be occur next year. And so all this money, once we get into the new budget, all this money will bring out other projects next year.
And the other thing is that the extraordinary septic system expense. Who would have known our septic system wasn't even functioning, and that we're gonna have to completely,
I don't
redo it.
think any of us argue with that, because it's no different than our own home, right? But we also have to understand that we need to budget X percent more, because we're not dealing with a 2-year-old place, right? And,
But we're saying, even with all these changes that are here, with all these additional things that we've added, we are still 55,000 under budget. Just so you know.
as long as revenue
From our projected revenue.
continue to come through, right?
And our revenue is coming through. And we actually discussed that today, because I asked Shauna, why is our, where was it? It was 9% or something, that's on the street fund. So on the street fund, there was like a line item where 9%. I was like, what is that? And then she's like, oh, we got to check. And that brings us up to 51% of the year. And we're not even at, 6 months. So there are these things that we get, these lump sums of payments that come in. So it's not, I think we're absolutely on track to be exactly where we are for our revenue. We'll probably be, I always try to be conservative with revenue. I think we are. So I think we're probably going to come in way under budget again this year as a total. But again, I like to be conservative. I think the finance committee as a whole, that's where we live. You know, we came in $164,000 under budget for last year. I anticipate we're going to do the same thing this year. So even with all the changes and additions. But I would like to get at least approval to go forward with these capital projects, the two approval tonight. And then we'll bring the budget back next month for you guys to look at more specifically on the others.
So you're asking for an additional $45,000
total. Yeah.
And then that'll do community building and
City Hall.
I'll make a motion that we approve that.
Second.
All right. Got a motion and a second. Any public comment before we vote? Okay. All those in favor? All right. Motion carries. And thank you. We appreciate it. We do work hard to get this to you guys and to
Let's move on.
all right. Yes. I don't disagree.
Getting tired, Max.
Getting late.
It's past Max's bedtime. That's right.
Mine.
All right. The next item on the agenda is going to be the resolution authorizing the purchase of parcels. We have to have a resolution for the purchase of the parcels of the park.
I'll make a motion to read title only.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye. Resolution authorizing purchase of parcel numbers 770-17551-000, 770-17551-001, and 770-17551-002.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Motion to adopt in a second. Any public comment before we vote? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Motion carries. All right. Next item on the agenda is going to be the Fayetteville City Water Update. You guys should have that in your packet. And if you guys look at this map, I think it's about as clear as mud. So let me, I drew a picture for you guys to show you.
I have too many engineers in the family. It made perfect sense to me.
Okay. So, I mean, it makes sense to me, but I had to look at it a couple times, but I want to show you guys on an actual picture what it's going to look like for the city. So I actually did a Google map, or Google Earth map, and then drew the line. So right now, the line deadheads here on the other side of Richland Creek in the hunt field. They're going to take that from a 6-inch line to a 12-inch line all along this red path. And it basically comes up in that valley there behind the hunt property and down through that valley over to Blue Springs, and then along Blue Springs over around the curve and right in front of the old Chandler house. It goes under the road and goes over through that gully behind John Kroger's property, and then behind the Methodist Church, over across under Highway 45, up through that gully of down through Ponchos, and then it crosses the road and comes straight up in front of the fire station, City Hall, and over and under Goshen Tuttle, and then it goes across Goshen or the upper side of Goshen Tuttle, all the way over to fire station, fire tower, and then it goes under the road there and across that field in front of the community building, across in front, and then around that tree, and then back down into the field on the other side of the pond. And then it goes from that new 12-inch line to an 8-inch existing line up to the fire tower.
And we're gonna hope they don't dig up anybody when they go past the center. No, I'm serious. Like,
well, we hope.
Yeah, we hope. There are sometimes people buried in places you don't expect.
And that would put a stop on it. Yeah. So now we met with Corey.
Property, you might hit a couple backflips.
Maybe. We met with Corey Granderson with Fayetteville Water, and Olson, who's the contracted engineering firm that's going to be doing the project. We don't know specifically yet when they're going to do this portion. We will get an email back from them or a call, let us know exactly when they're going to start on it. They said that it has to be done within, what was it, a year and a half, 2 years? Yep.
So all of it's done before.
Yep. Yep. I anticipate they're going to start on it soon, probably this summer. I would say by July we'll start seeing work I don't have a confirmation as to when and where they're gonna start. They don't know if they're gonna start here and work their way over. They're gonna start here at the community and then work their way down. So that part we don't know yet. And that'll be up to all of the engineers once they get everything. And talk to the general contractors that are doing the work.
So new line, obviously existing infrastructure
So,
satisfied.
yep, so it's gonna, and the nice thing for you, since you live on the other side, they're putting a check valve over here in this valley along Blue Springs as it comes through the Hunt property. And that will decrease the pressure at Waterford that goes from 70 to 400. So it'll now be consistent and that pressure won't be fluctuating so significant. Because right now that check valve is on Slaughter Mountain.
So I literally got a text sitting here tonight from Fayetteville City Council.
Mhm.
Fall of 2025, they hope to have the issues addressed. Passed the Water and Sewer Committee and is now going to City Council for approval.
Yeah.
So that's tonight.
Yep. Yep. Lacey, you had a
Sorry, I'm so excited about the situation. So I was actually at that meeting. So not only is it going to improve the water pressure for citizens of Goshen, it's also going to increase water flow and be able to sustain future growth. So not just like a little bit of growth, but like a lot of growth. But it's really exciting because then we have things like the moratoriums that we have like on subdivisions and things like that. Those things are gonna be lifted, and I know that a lot of us are super nervous about that kind of growth. But at the same time, having that kind of growth, to be able to think about that, also something that we can do now, since we know it's coming. Also, I think it's that the increase of
All right, one last thing before we go. I gotta show you guys the septic. You need to be aware. So these are the risers that are there. Right now, our septic tank sits below the water line. So when it rains, we have water that sits literally on top of the septic tank. The problem with that is, even though I had the septic company come out, put a new pump in, and it's working, we've got water going up to the D box. Water just flows right in. Groundwater just flows right in. So a lot of our leach lines are just getting groundwater, pushed up there. So that pump will not last if we don't fix this. So I still have to go and dig all around this and tar that lid because the lid is leaking. And we've got to put some additional tar around these risers as well before we cover those up. And so those are I just want you guys to see the next step. So all the new electrical, all the new pump, all the risers, those are in. But this is what's leaking in from the lid. So, and until we get that groundwater stopped, there's no way for us to prevent that pump from just cycling regularly. So that's kind of where we are with the septic system. So it's working. We have a functional septic system. We don't have to have it pumped. But unless we fix this issue, that pump will burn out in an untimely manner, and we'll be back to where we were. So we will. I'm going to get the excavator down, and we'll start, getting that sealed so that it's completely fixed. So, well, we spent way less than we could have spent on this, and that's a good thing. But it'll probably end up costing around 6 to 7 for total completion, and I think we're at about 5,200 now.
Dollar General fence.
Lacey, Dollar General fence.
Oh,
She's on it. She's on all these violations.
Sure. So Dollar General, I had to track down management. So the store manager is no longer there. The new store manager. Long story short, they have put in a request to get that fence fixed. It has to be fixed in the next 90 days for
Thank you.
All right. Any public comment? Yep, Dana.
I hate to say it, yeah, I do. Okay. I have 3 quick things.
Yeah.
Dollar General fence. What about the property that the post office and the other building? That really needs to be mowed. New owner needs to know that it needs to be mowed.
He'll be notified tomorrow.
Is that you? It's Kevin Reagan.
Okay, we'll get your mowing. The other thing, I don't know where your website is, but I really want to be able to go onto your website and look at the minutes from the planning commission and these council minutes. And they've been posted just October of last year.
that's my fault. I'm super busy and those minutes. It's honestly, than what the Western Highway had. So we have all of the council minutes updated all the way until now, and Tom has finding all of the fine lines and food that it's planned to come on. You just added time on this. And the other thing is, in writing the minutes, when Mr. Cole presents an ordinance and you read it, but you only read it by title only and all of that stuff. Can the minutes read, don't you have an ordinance number at that point?
No, we do
The
not.
ordinance number gets generated after it's approved.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because so often, when I do find the minutes online, there's an ordinance reading and, what's the about? If I haven't been here, I don't know.
You'll get to see those once you get them populated on the website with the numbers.
Yeah.
But the meeting minutes have been updated through last month.
Motion to adjourn?
Second. All right, we have a motion to adjourn. Second. All those in favor? All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.